Good evening. It is 6:47, and I call this June 16th, 2026 regular meeting of the Cupertino City Council to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Fruin,
Here.
Councilmember Mohan,
Here.
Councilmember Wong,
Here.
Vice Mayor Chow,
Here.
Mayor Moore.
Present. And Madam City Clerk, will you please provide the location information? Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you, Mayor. So Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members and members of the public, as a reminder, Councilmember Fruin is participating remotely this evening. We have not heard from any members of the public that they plan to participate in tonight's meeting from Councilmember Fruin's remote location. Councilmember Fruin, are you in the Hotel Lobby Business Center of the Fairfield by Marriott Inn and Suites in Salt Lake City, Utah? And can you confirm your location is open and available to the public?
Yes, I can so confirm.
Thank you. And you can you confirm that you posted the agenda at your location as well? I know I asked you this in the earlier session.
I can also confirm that I have posted the agenda and provided photographic evidence.
Thank you. And are there any individuals over the age of 18 with you? And has anyone indicated to you that they intend to make public comment or address the council this evening?
No.
Thank you. I'll rely on you to notify me if any member of the public wishes to speak from your location. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam City Attorney, do we have a closed session report?
We do. Yesterday evening, the council met in closed session. They discussed the item on the agenda, and there's no reportable action that was taken. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We have no ceremonial items. Next, are there any postponements and orders of the day? I would like to request a move in order of the day item that we hear item 7 prior to item 6. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I don't believe we have any deliberation on this, Madam City Attorney. We just go straight to a vote.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Councilmember Fruin,
Aye.
Councilmember Mohan,
Aye.
Councilmember Wong,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chow,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Now we move on to oral communications. How many speaker cards do we have for oral communications?
Mayor, at this moment, I believe we have 2 requests to speak in person, and I currently see 1 hand raised virtually.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please provide the instructions and conduct oral communications?
Certainly. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the council on any matter within the jurisdiction of the council and not on the agenda for discussion. Oral communication shall be limited to 30 minutes. Additional speakers wishing to comment on non-agenda items may be given time to speak at the end of the agenda after the city manager's report. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes. As necessary, the chair may further limit the time allowed to individual speakers or reschedule remaining comments to the end of the meeting on a first-come, first-served basis with priority given to students. In most cases, state law will prohibit the council from discussing or making any decisions with respect to a matter not listed on the agenda. A council member may, however, briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by speakers. A council member may also ask a question for clarification, provide a reference for factual information, request staff to report back concerning a matter, or request that an item be added to a future city council agenda in response to public comment. And members of the public wishing to speak regarding oral communications shall submit a request to speak card or raise their hand virtually within the first 9 minutes of the start of the public comment period or before the public comment period is closed, whichever comes first. So I believe this is for oral communications. Jennifer Chen, noise. Is this for oral communications or is this for the budget CIP discussion?
For instance, if it's regarding pickleball or the sheriff's contract, SROs, that would need to be heard for that particular agenda item.
So that'll be heard at the next, or the budget item number 6. Okay, so next we have a group mayor, Elder Aid and DePauli. Welcome. And so the video was not able to get reviewed in time since we just received it. So I apologize, we're not able to view that and play that for you at this time. But since you're representing a group, you'll have up to 4 minutes to speak. Correct, Mayor? Are we?
I did not reduce it. There were too few speakers for this
Okay,
item.
thank you. So you'll have 4 minutes to speak this evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dipali, and I represent an app that we have made called Elder Aid. Elder Aid is an app which connects seniors in the community with the local volunteers.
Budget item.
So if there are senior citizens who need help, they can use the app to list the tasks they need help with, and local volunteers who are registered on the app can see the task listed and hence pick up, and if they're interested, they can pick up the task and go help the senior. So thanks to the city of Cupertino for its support and the grant that we received, because of this, we were able to make a lot of improvements in the app. Now the app can actually, for the seniors, they can just talk to the app in any language that they want, and the app helps them to create the task and everything. The video was going to show that, and unfortunately, we did not plan it, so we can't show the video. But we have added new features to make it easier for seniors to request help and for volunteers to find meaningful opportunities to serve. Our goal remains simple: connect seniors who need assistance with trusted volunteers who are willing to help. One thing we have learned is that the biggest challenge is not building the technology, it's reaching the people who can benefit from it. Seniors often learn about Elder Aid through trusted community organizations, while volunteers learn about opportunities through word of mouth and local networks. We are planning to increase our outreach efforts through the Senior Center and other community organizations, but we would greatly appreciate city's help in that. We would welcome any opportunities to connect with seniors and potential volunteers through city communication channels, community events, newsletters, volunteer programs, or any other outreach efforts that you think may be appropriate. Specifically, if the city could help us share information about Elder Aid through the Senior Center newsletter, city newsletter, any volunteer programs, community events, or other city outreach channels, it would make a tremendous difference. We would also appreciate any guidance or introduction to organizations that serve seniors and community-minded volunteers throughout Cupertino. Elder Aid is a local nonprofit built here in Cupertino, and our mission is to help neighbors support neighbors. With the city's partnership, we believe we can reach many more seniors who need assistance and volunteers who are eager to give back. We would welcome the opportunity to work more closely with the city as Elder Aid continues to grow. If any council member or city staff member would like to discuss Elder Aid in more detail or share ideas how we can better reach seniors and volunteers in our community, we can be contacted at elderaidteam@gmail.com. We would love to continue this conversation. And thank you for city's continued support and for helping us strengthen connections with our community. Thank you.
So we will actually send an email because we could not show the YouTube video. So we will appreciate if you can go through it and take a look at it. It's just 2-minute videos. It will speak aloud and it will show you the features that are supported in it with AI. And actually we also have language support now. So people can talk in their own language. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, at this time, we will move to the request to speak virtually. We have one hand raised, so at this time, we will go ahead and welcome Connie.
Good evening. Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor Moore, Vice Mayor, and council members. I'm Connie Cunningham, 39-year resident, Housing Commissioner, speaking for myself only. We live in a beautiful city with beautiful weather and many amenities for community use, along with community gatherings places. We are in Santa Clara County within the state of California. Just 39 miles south in Santa Clara County is Gilroy, the garlic capital of the world. People come from all over to visit there to taste garlic ice cream and to have a good time. Lauren, could you at this time please share the screen of the photo that I sent?
Yes, it is. I'm sharing screen now.
Okay, thank you, Lauren. I appreciate that. Soon, Gilroy will be famous for something horrific, inhumane, part of a growing number of locations for detention camps for immigrants before they are quickly and illegally sent out of the country without being allowed to argue their case before a judge. Deportation without due process is kidnapping. As other cities are considering, I exhort City Council to join Cupertino voices with Santa Clara County and the state of California to block an ICE facility near Gilroy. On Wednesday, June 10th, 6 days ago, Santa Clara County joined forces with California Attorney General Rob Bonta to file a lawsuit to block the illegal development of an ICE facility near Gilroy. Earlier, I forwarded the county's email. Included are links to an article by San Jose Spotlight, also the full 175-page report by Attorney General Bonta, also the county's full press release of the 5 distinct federal and state laws being violated, and the full news conference that you can watch. I so deeply appreciate the words of Tony Lopresti, County Council of Santa Clara County. He says, "We are ready, we are willing, and we are able to hold the federal government accountable in the courts." The planned detention facility will be 20,000 square feet and can hold 150 people. The property is not zoned for this. It is zoned for agricultural use. You can email the county at district5@bos.sccgov.org about this stand that they have taken. I exhort City Council to join Cupertino voices with Santa Clara County and the state of California to block an ICE facility near Gilroy. We are stronger together. Thank you so much for this time to speak.
Thank you, Connie. And Mayor, I do not see any further hands raised virtually.
All right, thank you. Our next item is the consent calendar, items 1 through 5. Madam City Clerk, have any items been pulled?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Are there any requests to pull an item from the council at this time? I'm not seeing any hands raised. Madam City Clerk, do we have any members of the public who would like to comment on the consent calendar?
No request to speak in person and no hands raised virtually, Mayor.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. So moved by Councilmember Wong and seconded by Councilmember Mohan. Any comments from the council on this item? Vice Mayor, your hand is raised. Is that a relic? Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Councilmember Fruin,
Aye.
Councilmember Mohan,
Aye.
Councilmember Wong,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chow,
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Great. Thank you. Next, because we have changed the order, we're moving to the action calendar. Item 7, to amend the existing agreement with Santa Clara County for law enforcement services. Madam City Manager, do we have a presentation?
Thank you, Mayor. This is the proposed amendment to the city's agreement with the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office for Law Enforcement Services. I will provide a brief introduction and before we turn over to staff for presentation. So public safety remains our highest priority, and for decades, Cupertino has partnered with the Sheriff's Office to provide law enforcement services to our community. The current agreement, which expires on June 30th, we have been negotiating over the past year. Cupertino staff, in collaboration with our partner cities of Saratoga and Los Altos Hills, to engage in negotiations with the county regarding a successor agreement. The county's proposal includes significant changes to both the cost structure and the methodology, which results in a significant cost increase, greatly impacting the city's long-term financial outlook. We are undertaking a thorough review of this proposal and have partnered with the other contract cities to seek additional information to negotiate reasonable terms, including an independent assessment and review of the county's cost allocation methodology to evaluate compliance and applicable state law. The recommendation before you tonight is not the approval of a long-term agreement. Rather, it's authorization for staff to continue negotiations and execute a short-term extension through September 30th of this year, which is intended to ensure continuity of services, law enforcement services in the city while negotiations and analysis continue. Staff remains committed in negotiating in the best interest of Cupertino, maintaining transparency with the council and community, and ensuring that decisions are grounded in service needs, fiscal responsibility, and the safety of our residents. I also want to acknowledge and thank Mayor Moore for all your work serving on the ad hoc committee with the two other contract cities of Saratoga and Los Altos Hills. And also want to thank Jonathan Orozco and Michael Wu, who've been assisting me in this effort. With that, we will begin with the staff presentation, after which council will have an opportunity to ask questions, hear public comment, and provide direction. Jonathan.
Thank you, City Manager Kapoor, and good evening, Honorable Mayor Moore and council members. As council is aware, the city's current agreement with Santa Clara County for law enforcement services expires on June 30th, 2026. Recognizing that the negotiation of a new contract for such critical services would take time, the West Valley cities, Cupertino, Saratoga, and Los Altos Hills, began requesting information from the county as early as July 2025. Over the following 6 months, the cities repeatedly requested a formal proposal in order to begin meaningful negotiations and evaluate the potential fiscal impacts. While discussions occurred during that period, there were little indication of the magnitude of the increase that would ultimately be proposed. The county's first proposal was received on December 31st, 2025. Since that time, city staff, legal counsel, city council, ad hoc committee, and the representatives from other contract cities have participated in numerous meetings with the county staff and sheriff's office personnel to better understand the proposal and negotiate revisions. Those efforts resulted in revised proposals issued on April 10th and April 13th. Negotiations remain ongoing today, and extensions before council is intended to provide additional time to complete those discussions while ensuring uninterrupted law enforcement services. This slide illustrates the county's proposal, how it has evolved since it was first presented. Under the current agreement, Cupertino pays approximately $19 million annually for law enforcement services. The county's initial proposal received on December 31st would have increased the amount by approximately $7.5 million, representing a 39.6% increase beginning July 1st, 2026. Following the extensive negotiations by the three contract cities, the county provided revised proposals culminating in the April 13 proposal. While the revised proposal reduced Cupertino's cost by approximately $1.1 million, the proposed increase remains significant and continues to raise questions regarding the methodology used to allocate certain administrative and support costs. It is important to note that the cities recognize the impact of the salary and benefit increases negotiated by the county and understand that contract costs will increase over time. The remaining concern is not whether the costs have increased, but rather how certain costs are being allocated to the contract cities. Throughout negotiations, the cities have constantly focused on one primary issue: ensuring that the costs allocated to the contract cities are appropriate, transparent, and consistent with state law. Specifically, Government Code Section 51350 requires that counties charge contract cities for costs incurred in providing the contracted service, while prohibiting counties from allocating certain general governmental overhead costs that would exist regardless whether the services were provided to a city. The cities have requested additional information regarding several categories of costs included in the county's proposal and have worked collaboratively with the county staff to better understand the allocation methodology. While progress has been made, the cities believe that an independent review of the most appropriate way is the most appropriate way to objectively evaluate the methodology and provide confidence to all parties moving forward. In response to those concerns, the cities jointly pursued an independent third-party assessment of the county's cost allocation methodology. Following a procurement process, Vasquez and Company was selected to perform a review. The assessment is expected to begin no later this month and conclude, or no later this week, and conclude in late July or early August. The purpose of the assessment is not to evaluate deputy performance, staffing levels, or service quality. Rather, it is intended to determine whether the methodology used to allocate costs to the contract cities is consistent with the applicable law, and whether the charges are appropriately attributed to services provided to the cities. Staff believe an independent assessment will provide valuable information to both the cities and the county and help establish a common understanding as negotiations continue. On May 26, went a little too far. On May 26, representatives from the three cities met with the county executive, James Williams, and county staff to discuss a path forward. During that meeting, county indicated a willingness to consider a short-term extension of approximately 12 weeks. The county further indicated that the extension pricing would generally be based on the April 13th proposal, subject to any service level changes requested by the participating cities. The parties also discussed including a mechanism that would allow the results of the Vasquez assessment to be considered as part of future negotiations. Staff views the extension as an opportunity to complete the assessment, continue negotiations in good faith, and avoid making a long-term commitment before all parties have the benefit of an independent review. As part of the negotiations, Council may wish to consider whether any service level adjustment should be incorporated into the extension period. Under the current agreement, the city contracts for 2 school resource officers, approximately 4.4 traffic enforcement officers, and about 25.5 general law enforcement officers. One option discussed during negotiations is the temporary reduction of 2 school resources officers, or SROs. Because schools are closed during a significant portion of the proposed extension period, staff believes the option results in consideration of the potential cost savings measure. However, as of the latest proposal, the county did not extend the ability to reduce any service levels during the extension period. No recommendation is being made tonight regarding the permanent service level reductions. Rather, council and staff is seeking council direction regarding of what level service level reduction should be included during the ongoing negotiations with the county. One of the reasons staff wanted to include these forecasted slides is to illustrate that this discussion is larger than a 12-week extension. The decisions made regarding law enforcement services will have long-term implications to the city's financial outlook, and understanding the context is important for the council as council considers the available options. This slide shows the 10-year general fund forecast that was presented to council as part of last year's adopted budget. At this time, the city's financial outlook was relatively stable. Revenues and expenditures generally remained in a balance imbalance throughout the forecast period, with only modest deficits appearing in the final years of projection. Importantly, those deficits were relatively small. Even in the final years of the forecast, the projected shortfall was less than $1 million. The forecast indicated the city could largely maintain existing service levels while preserving a healthy fund balance. This forecast was prepared before the county's December 31st proposal and therefore reflects assumptions that did not include the significant increase of law enforcement costs currently under discussion. As a result, it provides a useful baseline for understanding how the city's financial outlook has changed over the last 6 months. This slide shows the updated 10-year forecast included in the proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget, which will be discussed later tonight. While the city continues to project modest surpluses in the first several years, primarily due to anticipated vacancy savings and conservative expenditure assumptions, the long-term picture changes significantly. Beginning later in the forecast period, expenditures begin to outpace revenues, resulting in recurring structural deficits. By the final year of the forecast, the projected annual deficit exceeds $10 million. There are several contributing factors, including normal growth in personnel and operating costs, an eventual expiration of the UUT, or user utility tax, or utility user tax, and the increased cost of law enforcement services. It is important to note that the forecast assumes the annual increase in the sheriff's contract of approximately CPI plus 2%. This assumption was selected as it is part of the current contract. However, in fact, the county's current proposal does not include an annual cap on future increases. As a result, if future contract increases exceed the assumptions used in the forecast, the city's long-term financial outlook could be materially worse than what is shown here. What these two slides demonstrate is the city's fiscal outlook has shifted considerably over the last year. Last year's forecast reflects a largely structurally balanced budget, whereas today's forecast reflects recurring deficit much more often in the 10-year forecast. This does not mean the city faces an immediate financial challenge. The city maintains healthy reserves and significant financial flexibility. However, it does underscore the importance of ensuring that the city fully understands the long-term financial implications of a new law enforcement agreement before entering a long-term commitment. For that reason, staff believes it is prudent to complete the independent assessment and continue negotiations before finalizing with the successor contract. At this time, staff is requesting council to authorize the city manager to continue negotiating and execute a law enforcement contract amendment with the county to extend the terms to September 30th, 2026, with a not to exceed amount of $6.4 million. Additionally, staff is requesting direction on service level reductions. That ends my presentation, and staff is available for any questions.
Right. Thank you very much, Jonathan, for that presentation. I was wondering, I'm not sure everyone understands what it means to have a Gonzalez Act compliant contract and how that differs from how fees are determined that the city would charge or the county would charge. So could you explain the difference between the Gonzalez Act and how cities and counties are allowed to charge fees?
Yeah, so the short is, as far as for instance, Cupertino. In 2023, we performed a cost allocation program that covered what is the total cost for each individual employee, which includes overhead and administrative support, and incorporates that as part of its fee schedule. So allowing the city to issue a fee or provide a fee that would be cost neutral to the city, completely cost neutral. So for that service, if it were to cost the city $100, the city can charge $100. Whereas with government code section 51350, it does not consider any overhead that this county would otherwise incur should the contract with the contract cities, cannot pass that on to the overall fee. For instance, and this was adjusted as part of that period between the December 31st meeting and the April 13th proposal. They had removed the sheriff from the allocation that's being, or the total cost to the city, and that was part of that $1.1 million that was decreased, along with other adjustments. And so, during that period, those refinements were made to the proposals. However, council nor the assessment will further evaluate whether there are other expenses that the county would incur should the cities not contract with them to perform law enforcement services.
So, Mayor, just to add to what we just said, and I think it's a good explanation. The Gonzalez Act, or Government Code Section 51350, in short says that when a county provides services to a city, that while they can pass through their costs, those costs must be directly attributed to those contracts. So, to the extent that there's any direct or indirect costs that arises from those contracts that they would still have, but for those contracts, they cannot pass those costs on. Whereas for the city, based on the explanation here, some of the costs can be passed on for full recovery.
Okay, this might be getting too far into the weeds, but would it make sense for the county to take their cost allocation plan that they have for the entire county and then just kind of figure out a way to prorate the sheriff's department onto the city?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
Would it be like a Gonzalez Act compliant method to take the cost allocation plan and say the sheriff's department, so everything that's allocated into the sheriff's department, and then just prorate that onto the three cities?
The short answer, it depends, right? And I'm sorry to not give you a certain. There are certain overhead costs that can be built into their cost allocation plan that the county can allocate to the sheriff's contract, and it's ultimately, and this is what the assessment will evaluate, whether, let's say, a payroll technician, they could hire an additional payroll technician that oversees the county-wide allocation, but is specific for the law enforcement. And that technician would otherwise should not be the contract cities would not be employed, and so that assessment needs to be performed by the Vasquez and Company to determine whether or not that payroll technician would otherwise be employed.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you. And have we ever had the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors provide the Gonzalez Act required resolution? Has that ever happened? It's mentioned in 51350.
Not that we're aware of, Mayor.
Okay. And our neighboring county is San Mateo, and their contracted cities mention the Gonzalez Act. Has the Santa Clara County ever referenced the Gonzalez Act in their contracts in the past?
Not from my understanding.
Okay. And how is it that they came to find out that this 40-plus-year-old law was in existence?
We pointed that out to the county mayor.
Okay. And I'd like to hear a little bit more about the Gonzalez Act with regards to double billing, because I know we have property tax and sales tax, which goes to the county to the tune of over $100 million annually. So what does that mean where we can read that you're not allowed to double bill a city?
We would have to discuss this with Vasquez and Company to see whether or not we would be able to incorporate that as part of the assessment. From my understanding, the government code refers strictly to what's being passed on directly as a cost, and does not consider other revenues. However, again, we would have to address that with Vasquez and Company and see if they can incorporate that as part of their assessment.
Okay. Now, if we lived in the unincorporated county, we would still have sheriff's services, but we wouldn't have a contract. So, are Are we basically subsidizing the unincorporated areas like the rest of the cities which are incorporated? Is that one way of looking at it?
I'm sorry, can you?
Well, the unincorporated areas of the county, they receive sheriff's services, but they
Correct.
don't have a contract.
Correct.
So they're getting, their property tax covers their sheriff, whereas our property tax is being not used to cover overhead. It's
An argument could be made for that statement.
I think, Mayor, if I make, so that the 3-month extension and the mutually agreed upon assessment will help us look into the costs that are being, proposed right now. Although, some of these conversations and the questions you're asking, we're also asking, right? So we will have more information after the assessment's done, after we are continue to analyze these costs and proposals we're receiving. And when we bring the longer term, contract forward, I think these need to be answered by then. But for the 3-month extension, we also tried to ask some questions to incorporate some of those in the 3-month extension, which the county has not agreed to. So what's in front of council tonight is the short extension in order for us to make sure that law enforcement services can continue in Cupertino. And in tandem, the assessment can be completed over the summer.
okay. Thank you. And with regards to eliminating the 2 SROs, 1 traffic and 1 general law enforcement officer, that is off the table. It's not negotiable.
So that is something that we had asked county to help us provide an estimate, because we felt that with the proposal and with the negotiation conversations, there were, cities really had no input, and our suggestions were not taken into consideration. So we felt like we were in a box. In order to bring the cost down, the only place we could look at is potentially reducing service levels. So what you heard tonight is one of the strategies that we, unfortunately, is the only strategy that we could consider. And we did not receive any estimation from county in order for us to even build a budget with the service level reduction. So for the 3-month contract, the county did not agree to any changes.
Okay, thank you. And with regards to the school resource officers, though they work at FUHSD and CUSD, and is it true that some districts will pay for their school resource officers through their own budgets? They'll contract directly?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I've been looking into that information. So my understanding, and I'll still need to confirm all of this, and I'll issue an info memo in the coming weeks. My understanding is that the SROs are primarily in the high schools, and of that, primarily in 3 high schools that are in Cupertino. They may also serve the other 2. And a small portion of their time is spent in the CUSD schools.
Okay.
And to answer your next question, there are different models that we have found. I didn't have a whole lot of time to research, so I'm still getting information. But there are different models where either it's within the police department budgets, or that there is some portion that the school districts will pay for. They all look different to me, so I'm going to look into it a little bit more, like I said, and I'll issue an informational memo for council and the public.
Okay, so we're not deciding tonight a long-term, we're not making a long-term decision regarding the SROs and traffic and general law enforcement, because that's not an option
Correct.
for us to even discuss.
Yes.
Vice Mayor, your hand's raised.
So in the staff report, the budget for this 3-month extension is 6.4 million. Times 4, that's 25.6 million. So that means this 3-month extension is using exactly what the county has proposed, nothing reduced.
That is correct.
So that the 3-month extension is not really extension of the current contract. It's a 3 months of the new proposed contract rate.
It's essentially an extension of our current contract using the new proposed rates.
Okay. And then my understanding is our contract actually Usually it was 10 years extension, and it was expired 2 years ago, and then there were a 2-year extension, right? And so supposedly the county should be working with us on any cost structure restructuring. But my understanding from the city manager is the county did not share any information with the city until December 31st, 2025 at 8 p.m. And before that, even though city has been asking, no information has been shared. And then after they share the information, they have been not willing to even share their cost structure so we can understand why all this cost increase is. Is that accurate description?
That's for the most part accurate, Vice Mayor. We began negotiations in June of last year, and the 2-year extension originally was provided by the county because there was a change in methodology. That's all we were told. We did not have any indication on what the increase that we would be staring down in a few months, right? And then the proposal in December that we received increased our rate to almost 40%. And we we continued negotiating and trying to understand and analyze these numbers. The disconnect right now is we do have the proposal that shows the cost methodology. It's just that we don't know if it complies with the government code section that governs these kinds of contracts. And of course, we want to, we have, as you heard, the proposal has changed a couple times and the cost has gone down. Which is a direct result of us asking questions and negotiating. However, we do need to do that assessment to make sure whatever is being charged, that the Cupertino is paying what we are legally required to pay.
So the 25.4.6 is already reduced from what's originally proposed.
That's correct. So Jonathan can get into the numbers a little bit for us if we need, if you can pull up that slide.
So as you can see on the PowerPoint presentation, the initial proposal that was received by this, I see a typo here. It's December 31st, 2025, was for 26.5 million. The most recent proposal, which was received by the city on April 13th, 2026, was for 25.4 million. A reduction of $1.1 million. And as City Manager Kapoor stated, this is due to the efforts from the contract cities in their negotiations, and as Senior Assistant City Attorney indicated earlier, it was due to us pointing out that Government Code Section 51.350 dictates what cost can be passed on to the cities.
Okay. So I would like to share this. I think this slide. Okay, this is a slide. I think Los Altos Hills mayor has shared at their council meeting, and so it shows the dollars per hour. I know this might not be accurate, but I think there is a drastic difference between Cupertino dollar per patrol hour over San Mateo County, Portola, and Woodside. They are also serviced by San Mateo County. So we are seeing it's a drastic difference there, and then the amount of overhead for Cupertino, Saratoga the overhead is over 100% of the actual direct cost. And that's the kind of contract that the county is proposing right now. So are these kind of accurate? Or the staff needs to verify those? I think the direct and indirect cost likely is pretty accurate. Right.
A lot of this, it depends. I don't, and these numbers are certainly an interpretation of the contract. However, I would probably reserve on making any statements until the assessment's been performed, because there could be some costs baked into their overhead or our overhead that are allowable. Whereas with Woodside, Portello Valley, or Danville, maybe those costs are built into their direct policing cost. And so the contract structure may be a bit different. So we may be comparing apples to oranges in this situation. But again, I'd probably reserve until that assessment's been
Yeah,
done.
thank you.
Councilmember Mohan?
Thank you. Thank you for the explanation and the reports, Jonathan, Michael, and City Manager. So our task today is to approve the 3-month extension. And the 3-month extension includes the temporary elimination of the 2 SROs.
No, the current, what's being requested today is for the city manager to continue negotiating with the county and authorize the city manager to execute a 3-month extension with a not to exceed amount of $6.4 million and provide direction on whether to reduce service levels in the interim or in the future, the more long-term contract.
Okay, but our task is not to look at the long-term contract. Today's task is to look at the 3-month extension.
That's correct. And just to add on to what Jonathan said, we did try to bring the cost down even for the 3-month extension, but the county did not agree to that. Okay. So right now in front of you is a 3-month, although it's called an extension would be of the current terms of the current contract. It's extension of law enforcement services, but the cost is based on the proposal we received from the county that we're still looking into.
Okay, so then if we present it exactly as you've described it, City Manager, there is no dispute between the city and the county if we go with this 3-month? Because we are agreeing to everything that they've asked for, right?
I think there is a disagreement on terms. However, there is no time to negotiate further because the current contract does end on June 30th. And we are told by the county that if there is no agreement/extension signed by June 30th, that they will remove law enforcement contracts from their budgets.
Right. So if you could quickly describe what is the 3-month contract then? We are extending the term. We're saying that the contract the amount cannot exceed 6.4. It could go below that. And in terms of the traffic officers, that's not an issue, or the school resource officers. Is that one of the sticking points, or not anymore?
The SROs and the service level reductions is a broader conversation for us because we're also bringing the budget tonight. However, for the 3-month contract, we did try to ask for estimation from county, since it is the summer months, what it might look like, what the city's costs might look like if we did not have SROs. We did not receive that information from county, so we don't have that included in the 3-month extension.
So the assumption then in the 3-month contract is that everything stays the same in
that is
terms
right.
of SROs?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilmember Wong?
Yeah, I just want to go through some assumptions so the public knows how we got here. Many of you know that we did a Measure A funding bill that added 5/8 cents to your sales tax. That's $337 million to the county budget to cover for shortfalls for the hospitals that they acquired. And we are still $500 million short in the budget. Is that correct? I just want to double check for this from the county. Does anyone have that? So we're $500 million short on a county budget, and now the costs are being passed on to us indirectly and directly in many ways. So that's how we got here. So I just want the public to understand that. It's because the county has a huge budget deficit because of the hospitals they purchased and the federal funding that went away from the Medicaid, Medicare for those hospitals. That's why we're here. All the decisions that stem from here is a question of whether our city can actually maintain a budget. We're supposed to balance a budget and keep a budget and keep service levels. And so we really need your help in terms of reaching out to the county and making sure that they keep their budgets in line, because when they don't, we end up paying for it.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah. So I understand for this extension, we are in no position to cut anything. But I just want to get more information about SRO, because so many people did write to us. So it's not really a matter of how important it is. Definitely we need them on school campus, but I think what's at issue is who should be paying for that, since the school districts are not under the jurisdiction of the city. For example, De Anza College pays for their own sheriff service. So, and then I hear different things about the two SROs. Do they serve only 3 schools who are physically located in Cupertino, or do they serve all 5 campuses? Because I heard they actually serve all 5 campuses for Fremont Union High.
So from my understanding, they primarily service Cupertino High, Homestead High, and Monte Vista. However, if Fremont or Lynbrook need assistance, they will respond.
What kind of assistance? Because Sunnyvale also respond when they need assistance. San Jose Police also respond. So what kind of service they provide?
We can provide that level of detail
yeah.
with the information memo.
And although Homestead is located in Cupertino, but the attendance area is mostly in Sunnyvale. So that's also a question of who should be really bear the major cost of these services. And my understanding is they provide not only assist when there were incidents, which I think is something that definitely the city police should provide. They also provide training for students, some regular things that usually a school district is educating their students about. So those are important things to definitely provide our students. But the question is, should the city cover that cost or the school district? So I think if we can get more understanding of exactly what do they do, that will be helpful. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up, Vice Mayor, and also Councilmember Wong, with regards to the very large hospital and healthcare network that the county took on. It's out of alignment with other counties. Ordinarily, it would be 25 to 30% of the budget would be for hospitals and hospital networks. Our county is around 53 to 55% of their entire budget, and the state mandate is to care for the poor and indigent of the community, not to grow this massive hospital network, which they did. Also, with regards to our support for the schools, we are in our budget, $2.3 million is going to help CUSD between the approximately $1.4 million for the field use sharing agreement and us doing maintenance for CUSD. Then we also have safe routes to school, and we're providing nearly all of the crossing guard funding as well. And then when you add in their sheriff portion, you end up around $2.5 million going to CUSD alone, and the rest of the contract. So out of about nearly $700,000, $530,000 is going to FUHSD, supporting that agency as well. Councilmember Wong, your hand is still raised?
Relics.
Relics. Okay.
I think JR.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Fruin, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To pick up a bit where the Vice Mayor left off, I think it's certainly good for us to have these conversations with our partners about who's best suited to bear the cost of providing various services. I'm thinking specifically here of the SROs. However, I'm also very anxious to not repeat what is being done to us if we are upset that the county is wanting to get money out of us in order to deal with its budget shortfall. I don't really want to make our problem their problem. That is the school districts for the SROs. So I think that to the extent that we go down any discussion of this specific question, that we really look at who's best suited to bear the cost. And to the extent that we can continue to support our school districts, I would prefer that we do that.
Thank you. I do think it's important that we ask the difficult questions and we don't cower from them. Madam City Clerk, how many speaker cards do we have on this item?
Mayor, at this time, I have one request to speak in person, which is a group of, I believe, about 4 people. So that's 8 minutes. And at this time, I have, I see 2 hands raised virtually.
Okay.
Okay. So at this time, we will go ahead and welcome Graham Clark and your group.
Actually, we just had a 5th member join, was the principal of
Yes.
Monte Vista. Would he be able to speak to?
Yes, that is okay. So we will have 10 minutes on the clock for you and your group.
Okay, thanks. We'll start with our board member, Danny Choi.
Okay.
Thank you. Council members, I'd like to begin by thanking you for your service in helping to support our public schools. In these polarized times, one thing I consistently hear people speak of is the glowing reputation of Cupertino's schools, of their desirability to families, and of their high quality. This is not a lucky accident, but the result of a confluence of geography, economic factors, and careful stewardship and planning. Our students don't just happen to be amazing, they also happen to be incredibly hardworking and dedicated young people who represent the best of what our future offers. They face challenges and stresses that you and I could not have imagined when we were in high school. My colleagues will go into more detail regarding the importance of the relationships cultivated between SROs and the students and staff, but I would like you to consider another factor. 3 of FUHSD's campuses sit within Cupertino's boundaries. High schools are large plots. They consistently require orientations and guidance for the hundreds of new students that they welcome each year. So in addition to those above benefits, funding SROs also helps to cultivate a familiarity with the lay of the land. In an emergency, minutes and even seconds matter. I'd like you to view this funding issue not as an expensive and low probability insurance premium in the event of the unthinkable, but as a continued commitment to and investment in the city of Cupertino's renowned public schools. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Janice Chen. I'm a Cupertino homeowner, a resident. I grew up in Cupertino, attended Cupertino schools from kindergarten to 12th grade, and I worked in Cupertino as an assistant principal at Monte Vista High School. I've personally witnessed the value of the SRO program from multiple perspectives, and I'm speaking tonight in strong support of continuing the School Resource Officer program, serving our Cupertino schools and community members. I currently am the principal at Limbrook High School in San Jose, and I have experienced the difference between having an accessible SRO and not having one. At Limbrook, when we need law enforcement assistance, we call 911 for SJPD since our campus is in San Jose. While SJPD officers are professional and dedicated, San Jose covers a very large area, and response times can sometimes be lengthy with limited communication while waiting for assistance. In situations involving student safety, mental health concerns, or urgent incidents, those delays can be challenging. In contrast, During my time working at Monte Vista High School with a dedicated SRO, we had a trusted partner who was familiar with our campus, our students, staff, families, and community. The SRO was not only available during emergencies, but also worked proactively alongside school administrators to support a positive school climate, built relationships with students, provided guidance to families, addressed concerns before they escalated, and built trust necessary for long-term community safety. That partnership was invaluable and demonstrated the unique role SROs play in creating safe, supportive school environments, which in turn positively impacts the broader Cupertino community. Their presence allows them to understand the unique needs of our schools and respond in ways that general patrol officers just simply can't replicate. Cupertino is known for its outstanding schools and its commitment to education, which makes our city a safe and highly desirable place to live. Families choose to move here because of our schools and our reputation for safety, and both contribute significantly to the strength of our city and the value of our homes. I respectfully ask the council to continue supporting the SRO program. School safety is not solely a school district issue. It is a community responsibility, and the SRO program is an important investment in that shared commitment. Eliminating the SRO program may provide short-term budget relief, but it risks creating long-term impacts on school safety, prevention efforts, and community trust. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ben Klausnitzer. I have the honor of being principal at Monte Vista High School now for, I guess this is the 8th year. Next year will be the 9th year. I am speaking in support of continuing the SRO program for the city of Cupertino. And I'm going to take a little bit different angle than maybe you've heard. There's SROs and the sheriffs in the context of a response, right, to schools and enforcement that might occur. What you might not know is what the SROs do for our families, for our students, in regards to a resource. And what I mean by that is our students are the city of Cupertino students, our families are the city of Cupertino's families. Our families often talk to me more and more as the years go on in the context that their community is the Monte Vista community. I would imagine that same conversation happens at Lincoln, at Kennedy Middle, and so forth. But as a resource, right, when families contact us and they might be in crisis, and it might not be related to school, but they're going to a trusted adult, a trusted institution, Monte Vista High School, could be a counselor, could be assistant principal, could be a principal, a school-based therapist, right? And it isn't always, that we're calling 911. It isn't always that we're calling other phone calls that we can make, but we might call our SRO as a resource. And it might be the SRO who goes out as a resource, maybe not to the school, but to the student, to the family's home. And that happens more than you might think. The other piece to that might be that we get phone calls. It can be a Saturday at 9 p.m. from an SRO, something that's happened in the community, something to do with our family, again, maybe a family in crisis, right? And they're looking to partner with us to support, not for enforcement, right, but as a resource to support our families. So I'm speaking in support, and I hope you support SRO program moving forward. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Dr. Danae Nurnberg, and I'm entering my 20th year as a school administrator within the city of Cupertino, and my 3rd year as the principal of Homestead High School. During the past 2 decades, I've worked alongside many dedicated educators, counselors, and community partners. Through all of these years, school resource officers have been a vital part of our team, and I'm strongly advocating for them to be retained in the city of Cupertino budget. Schools are tasked with an incredible number of responsibilities, and maintaining safety is only part of that role. School resource officers are often our first call when needing a consult about student behavior or an incident in the local community. Our SROs are hired into this role due to their ability to maintain compassion, empathy, and treat children with a warm yet firm approach. They understand the nuance of helping a teenager learn from their mistakes without overly penalizing them for poor adolescent decisions that kids invariably make year over year. Our SROs are far more than law enforcement officers assigned to a campus. They attend games, support school events, listen to students during difficult times, and often become the bridge between young people, their families, and the broader community. The impact of their work cannot always be measured in statistics or time on task, as was earlier mentioned in this conversation, or annual reports. It shows up in the student who makes a better choice because of a conversation with a school resource officer. It shows up in the trust a family develops with public safety. It shows up in the confidence students feel knowing there's a caring adult in law enforcement who knows their name and genuinely wants them to succeed. Over time, these relationships create safer schools, stronger communities, and deeper trust between young people and the law enforcement that serve them. These are dividends that pay out not over months, but over years and even generations. Reducing school resource officers may seem like a budget decision today, but it risks weakening relationships and supports that have taken years to build. Once that trust is lost, it is not easily replaced. I respectfully ask you to consider the long-term impact on our students, schools, and community before reducing this important program. Our school resource officers are not simply part of campus security. They are part of the fabric of our school and city communities. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Graham Clark. I'm the superintendent of the Fremont Union High School District, and I'm here to speak in support of the School Resource Officer Program. And I want to let you know that I've been in communication with the city manager, Tina, and we've been talking about this, so I recognize it's a very hard budget challenge, and I just want to let you know that the Fremont District is willing to give more. We haven't given as much as some school districts have, but we can give more to help in this situation. But I want to say, as the former principal of Homestead High School, an assistant principal at Cupertino High School, and a teacher in the district, I've called on the SRO many times. And I have a story here. I don't have much time, but I was going to tell you the story of October 5th of 2011. I was the principal at Homestead High School doing the Cupertino Quarry shooting. And I will say we felt very supported by the SRO programs on that day as the shooter was coming down the street of Homestead and Homestead neighborhoods. They had a presence patrol in front of the school, and it was very comforting to have them here with us that day. What I want to let you know is we are aware that some cities do not support SRO programs in the same way that Cupertino has, and we understand the differences in the impacts, as Principal Chen has said, but I'll say those systems are not better, and our system is working well, and I don't think we should break it because I don't think our schools will be safer.
Thank you, Graham.
Thank you.
That is your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, at this time, we will move to the request to speak virtually. We have 3 hands raised that were raised within the 9-minute cutoff. So we will welcome in this order San Rao, followed by Vinay Myler, followed by Srikala Thota. Welcome, San.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor Chai, and Vice Mayor. I'm a planning commissioner speaking on behalf of myself and as a Cupertino resident. I'm going to be blunt and direct in my thoughts. When staff tell you that the SROs are primarily used in FUHSD and not in CSD, they are either lying, being ignorant, or being unaware and uninformed. And none of those are acceptable options. And when the city manager approves the staff report, she needs to take accountability for what has been said. How many CSD board members did you call? Did you call the CSD superintendent? How many CSD principals did you call? Did you call any CSD parents? You absolutely are totally misinformed. SROs are out at CSD elementary schools in Cupertino every single day. They are the first on scene when there is an issue at the schools. They are the first on scene when there is a lockdown. And when we have student issues involving any sort of family matters, they are the first on scene providing a humane support. When you talk about making cuts involving CSD and FHSD, you talk in the abstract, but we forget that these are families from Cupertino that pay property taxes in Cupertino. My own daughter has been in 2 lockdowns in Monte Vista High in the past 2 years. My own daughter in Monte Vista High has received gruesome and violent photographs sent to her that were sourced thanks to the deputies that have been come from overseas. My own son has been in 3 lockdowns in Furry Elementary in the past 6 months. I'm a Cupertino resident. I pay your taxes. And you're talking like CSD and the FHSD is some abstract thing that you don't care for and that isn't your jurisdiction. Do you forget who attends these schools? You could very easily solve this problem. This is a solvable problem. You could be cutting costs in places that are non-essential. Cut all staff working on bike lanes now. Cut all projects on bike lanes now. Cut the safe routes to school, which is really an anti-car committee or an anti-car back channel law. You could cut all staff working on A2P now, and yet you put our kids at risk. Let's call this what this is. What this is staff protecting yourselves because parents are uninformed, disengaged, and won't speak up for their kids. That's what this is. And the city manager needs to take total accountability for what has happened tonight. And if there is a law enforcement episode that impacts any of our schools or our families because of cuts in law enforcement, or we have a traffic accident because of reduction in traffic enforcement, you people that work for this and the city manager is accountable for this. Stop
Thank you,
pushing
Sam.
your problem.
Thank you, Sam. That is your time. Next, we will welcome Vinay Myler. Welcome.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you for so much giving me a time. I want to speak with respect to an SRO. So public safety is not a line item, right? So cutting a law enforcement in a city with 30,000 plus resident and multiple schools is not a budget solution in my opinion, and it's a liability. Schools, kids and families should be the first. So these SROs and patrol coverage near Cupertino schools are a direct safety net for our children. Any cut there is felt immediately and visible by every family in this city. And I'm being a father of a child who goes to William Faria is directly impacted by this. And in that response, I think crime prevention is cheaper than the crime response. So law enforcement presence is not a reactive approach. It should be preventive. Every patrol, every SRO, every visible officer is a deterrent. We don't wait for a fire to defund the fire department, right? So don't wait for an incident at a school or in the neighborhood for that matter to wish we had kept officers on the street. Prevention costs less than the tragedy. So safety is what makes Cupertino worth living. Personally speaking, out of my experience, I came to Cupertino from Sacramento thinking that this is the city to be in. It is more safer than being in Sacramento, right? So the city is a reputation which costs the people from different destinations. I'm being the prime example of that. So for a good school, safety streets and strong property values is an inseparable form of public safety. So the moment you keep cutting this, that is going to be immediately felt in other shape and form. So that reputation attracts families, business, and investment, right? So cut the law enforcement and you're going to cut the very thing that makes the Cupertino inviting. That is not the place to find the savings. So, I mean, I'm not going to propose where and all you can find it, but there are ways you can work on the non-resident fees argument could be the one that can be brought up and other sorts of it. So cover for a staff will naturally protect the staff, right? The council needs to hear from a resident that we see the dynamic and expect the elected officials to prioritize the community safety over an integral budget comfort. So do not cut the law enforcement, direct staff to bring the back to a revised proposal that finds the equivalent savings through consultants, contractor, or non-essential projects, or non-resident fee adjustments. Our kids and our neighbors cannot wait for this. So please don't cut the SRO. That's my humble request to the city.
Thank you, Vinay. And at this time, I do not see the hand raised anymore by Srikala Thota. So, Mayor, that concludes the request to speak on this item.
All right, thank you. For purposes of deliberation, do I have a motion? Councilmember Wong?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the 3-month contract as is.
And do you have a recommendation with regards to the SROs? We're supposed to provide some direction regarding that. And please consider Supervisor Clark's message.
I would save that for deliberation, so I get the second.
Okay, more second. And your hand is still raised. Did you want to start?
Yeah, I just want to put some facts there. I think everybody here believes public safety is important, and I think that it is important in the context of budgets and safety. I mean, there are priorities. Just to give you some facts for consideration, 60% of high schools don't have SROs. The Cupertino, the FUHC budget is $233 million. The city's budget is $136 million. You're all being taxed for the same services. Just something to keep into consideration.
Thank you. I was wondering if you would entertain that direction would be to have our city manager contact both the I should say superintendents, I think I said supervisor, the superintendents of FUHSD and CUSD to provide some direction there to negotiate that they pay a fair share of the SRO contract rather than us taking on the entire amount.
I think it'd be important to lead that exploration with the city manager and the superintendents that are here and the people that came out. I think it's an important conversation. I mean, if SRs are that important, it's a question of where it fits within our mandate and where it fits with other areas. So I would entertain that.
Right, and I really did appreciate that Superintendent Clark recognized that FUHSD has not been contributing enough, and I'd like to find out what they are able to provide, because it does. We're not saying that the schools, if they want to have the SROs, that's great. We're not saying no to that. It's who should most appropriately be paying for it, especially since it's working for those other agencies. It's kind of like when I brought up we're taking care of field maintenance. Well, that's now grown to 1.4 million. We're doing the crossing guards. We're doing bicycle education at the schools. We're paying actually to have their students educated, and we have our staff members who are providing these services and contracted employees. So we're doing a lot, and I think we need to consider that. It was one thing when we had the revenue sales tax sharing agreement in place and we had this revenue. Now we're having to look everywhere and find out what we can do in order to get our budget balanced. So did you want to...
You want the friendly amendment?
Why don't you try to frame it?
Okay. Would like to. I'll make the proposal to support the existing recommendation, along with adding a direction to the city manager to engage with the superintendents and the FUHSD to look at alternatives in terms of cost sharing going forward that are more representative of what's available in other districts.
More second. Okay. I accept that. I see a hand raised from Councilmember Fruin.
Thank you. First point, I just wanted to emphasize again, so that it's clear for everyone in the public, that the approval of this item today does not eliminate SROs. It does not eliminate a general service officer. It does not eliminate a traffic enforcement officer. What we are seeing instead is simply an increase in our cost. So I just want to underscore that first. Second, as to the friendly amendment, I would hope that the city manager and the superintendents would perhaps examine the possibility of a formula that would provide for who pays what going forward. Our fortunes will shift over time as public agencies, and it would be good for us to not have to re-examine who pays what all of the time. If we can figure out what we think is fair on an ongoing basis, I think that that's a better place to be.
I see hands raised from Councilmember Wong and the Vice Mayor.
I was just going to add to Councilmember Fruin's point is that when our fortunes are good, we supported the schools a little bit more. When our fortunes are poor, we have to look at different alternatives, and I think that's just important to know. I mean, there is a mutual benefit here, and there is collaboration. So.
Right, and the schools do take the lion's share of our property tax, and we generate a great deal of property tax, but Cupertino is a low tax city, and we only get to retain the 6.51%. The county gets 13.68%, and the schools it's even higher. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, follow up on that. This is a chart. I think the mayor had created a chart. This is a chart created by ChatGPT. Hopefully it's accurate. And for Cupertino, we get only 6.71% of the 1% of the property tax, while somehow the other cities in Santa Clara County, some of them get almost twice of what we get. And the reason seems to be that before Prop 13, Cupertino had almost no property tax. So we are being penalized for being responsible economically in the past. And now it seems to be very hard to be equal to others. And Oakland, the city gets 40% of their property tax. I heard that San Francisco gets 80%. So there is a huge inequality between cities. And like Councilmember Wang said, we used to be able to afford more because we did get more from sales tax. But due to the CDTFA audit, we are getting about 10 to 20 million less in sales tax. And we have cut a lot of services as a result. And now we have to deal with this increase in sheriff contest. For the motion, I would like maybe when the staff can bring more information later, I do wonder if the SROs only serve 3 schools that's physically located in Cupertino. I think 75% of the time, and 25 is for the K-8 schools. What's the workload so that they would need 2 full-time SROs? So I'm trying to still understand what do they do. So we need 2 full-time SROs for mostly just 3 high schools. Maybe I don't fully understand the scope of what they do. So some more information will be helpful later.
Vice Mayor, I'll include that when we do the info memo on SROs, but there's some information as a desk item that we just issued right before the meeting that describes, and this information I received from the Sheriff's Office, thank you, in terms of what the SRO's duties look like.
But it was pretty general, so it doesn't tell me why do I need why couldn't one full-time sheriff does it? Because incident, when responding to incident, so maybe I don't fully comprehend the scope.
We can bring more information.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mohan.
Listening to the motion, I appreciate the clause included which suggests that the city manager continue negotiations with the FUHSD and CUSD superintendents. So that's the way to go. But I do want to make it clear that there's no talk about eliminating SROs in this current 3-month extension. And likely not in the long term either. So we've heard members of the public saying, why are we cutting SROs? The question really is not eliminating the positions, but figuring out maybe a cost-sharing partnership or a relationship with probably schools to just help our situation and the schools. So am I correct in my assumption?
You're absolutely correct, Councilmember Mohan. And when we say elimination, it's elimination from our budget. So we're just trying to estimate what our budget will look like if our share goes down or the SROs were not in our budget. There's never been a conversation for Cupertino to try and eliminate the positions itself.
Yeah, thank you. Vice Mayor?
Just one more idea. I think when I received the CPR training at the city, one of the officers was a volunteer firefighter. So he volunteered, a retired volunteer firefighter. I'm not sure if he was even firefighter before, but then it seems a lot of the service provided by SRO are mostly training and information education. So maybe a potential option would be engage with retired sheriff so that they can help provide those, because you probably don't need an active sheriff to provide some of those services. That might help reduce the cost, but provide the same benefit to the students for the school district. So I want to bring that up for consideration.
May we call a question?
Hold on, I want to try to share my screen, but I'm having difficulty. Let's go back. Oh, shoot. Let's get this off of here. I'm not sharing screen, am I?
No.
Cancel that. So are you using share window or share entire screen? Share window. Okay, so let me get there. Okay, I'm trying to share a window. Let's see if it's working. Share this window. Yay, okay. All right, so Vice Mayor was talking about the property tax distribution. So I've been researching this for a while. Here we'll see, while you'll see in the budget, it'll say 35 million estimate for our property tax. There's actually VLF and ERAF in there, so you have to remove that to get to what is specifically just the property tax. So our property tax is 24.1 million. And then you can see the county, they get 13.68%, that's 50.7 million. Fire protection is 56.2. That's because these values are based on 1978 and AB8 agreements that were made a long time ago. Here's the county, they're getting over 100 million from Cupertino, combined sales tax and property tax. And then when we're looking at our school districts, and I'll put this into the written record, Cupertino Union Elementary, their share of our property tax is 24.75, so that amounts to almost 92 million. And the high school district, 16.71%, about 62 million. And then here's a chart where you can see the sections that the education is receiving. It's all the blue area, fire is the red section, county in gray. And there's Cupertino at 6.5. So some of the cities receive quite a bit more. I don't know if I've got that up here. These are old charts. See if I can find that. I might not be able to. No. Oh, sorry, I won't be able to pull it up fast enough, but we're at 6.51%. If you were in Milpitas, you were going to get over what is it, 16% for Milpitas? 16 or 13, I can't recall that one off the top of my head. 16? Closer to 16. And then some counties and in the state back with AB8 managed to negotiate like 40% of their property tax would be retained. So we got a really unfortunate deal. And back then our property wasn't worth as much. And since it's increased, these percentages become more shocking. So when you're looking at fire, this 56 million for fire, we directly pay out of our property taxes, whereas Campbell also uses county fire. $11 million is what their contract is for the city of Campbell, whereas we're providing $56 million. So I'll stop sharing the screen, and like I said, I'll put this into the Vice Mayor.
So since you brought up the 56 million paid for county fire, so that's right out of our property tax, and we don't have any contract with them. So which means we don't have a say on how this $56 million is spent. And we don't even have a say that this $50 million will be spent in Cupertino or not. Is that correct?
Yes. So it can be leaving the city.
Yeah.
Councilmember Wong?
I think before we go to vote, and this is going to be also on the other agenda item, just know that there's a lot going on with budgets. There's a lot of issues that are happening. That everybody here has been working really hard to understand what we pay for, what we get, what we're getting back, what the value is, and really what is this for every person here that's a taxpayer. It's really important that you understand that there are a lot of hard decisions that are out there, but the staff here is working really hard along with the city council to make sure that we use our money wisely. But just understand everything is proportionate in context of what we're getting. Just know that our budget is almost half the size of the school district's budget. And then a lot of our budget and most of our budget is going to the county, which we have very little say in, and that's why we're here. So please understand that.
Vice Mayor, is this current? Okay. I'm not seeing any further hands raised.
Mayor, before you take the vote, I just wanted to make sure in your motion that you're also giving me direction to continue negotiating the longer-term agreement with the county.
I think that's what was in the original agreement, but yes, I would like to, I'd like to confirm that, affirm that as well.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Councilmember Fruin?
Aye.
Councilmember Mohan?
Aye.
Councilmember Wong?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chow?
Aye.
Mayor Moore?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you, and we're going to take a 5-minute break. This is a consideration of the operating and capital improvement budgets, appropriation limit, and related actions. If you need to continue your conversations, please do so in the lobby. Thank you very much. Okay, Madam City Manager, do we have a presentation?
Thank you, Mayor. This item is, as you said, to consider the recommended operating and capital improvement program budgets for fiscal year 26-27, adoption of the operating and capital improvement program budgets for the same year, and establishment of the appropriation limit and related actions. This item will discuss changes from the proposed to the final budget. And before presenting the item, I will just briefly frame the discussion that is before you tonight. The budget reflects staff's efforts to maintain core services, respond to rising costs, and preserve the city's long-term financial sustainability. Our budget currently shows a small deficit that you will hear from staff. As part of the work that we do to bring the budget forward to you, staff evaluated a range of budget balancing strategies across departments and service areas as options available for you to help address the projected fiscal pressures. And with that, I will now turn it over to Tony O.S.A. Anderson, our budget manager, and Jonathan Roscoe, acting director of administrative services, to present this item, and staff will be available for questions after.
Okay, ready? Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Thank you for joining us today as we present the fiscal year 26-27 final budget. Before we begin tonight's presentation, we'd like to take a brief moment to recognize all who have helped to build this budget together. It has involved many months of hard work, and we appreciate staff from across all city departments who had dedicated long hours to getting this budget to the end of the road here. Also, thank you to the community members for attending our community meetings, and also for your valuable input. Lastly, thank you to Council for your leadership and oversight throughout this process. In this presentation, we will discuss the changes to the budget since it was printed on May 4th. We will also be providing some additional information based on Council questions and outline the next steps in the budget cycle. Please note that tonight's presentation has been revised since it was published yesterday, and it will be posted online for the public tomorrow. As this roadmap illustrates, just about a month ago, we presented the proposed budget, and now we have reached final budget adoption as our final stop in our budget roadmap. Next, I will cover all changes being recommended to the budget by fund after it was printed on May 4th. This slide here shows all the changes recommended to the budget after it was printed on May 4th.
Please note that I'll cover these in high level for now and will discuss in greater detail in future slides. So here in the general fund, changes include the reallocation of $200,000 in RISE housing funds from the special revenue to the general fund. Also $25,000 for a council-approved city work program item related to strategic communication strategy. You'll also see $13,000 for RISE housing solutions and approximately $34,000 for the council-approved salary alignment of the senior assistant city attorney. The general fund revenue side, the general fund revenue side includes $15,000 for law enforcement-related administrative fees, a $47,000 reduction of Chamber of Commerce funding, a $224,320 reduction of property tax related to ERAF. And also upon review of the staff report, staff had identified that the $60,000 reduction for the automated license plate reader proposal was inadvertently excluded from the itemized recommendations and therefore does not flow through the staff report charts that was provided. However, it is highlighted here in red to reflect those changes which have an impact to the total general fund expenditures and general fund balance, ultimately resulting in a revised use of fund balance, as shown here, of $374,439. The changes reflected in this slide will flow through the remainder of tonight's presentation, and again will be published to the public tomorrow. In the special revenue fund, there is a $200,000 reduction in expenditures for the council-approved reallocation to the general fund. Changes to estimated fund balance in special revenue is $200,000. Overall, staff is recommending $150,378,779 in revenues across all funds. The negative $209,320 in total operating changes reflect the increases and decreases as discussed in the previous slide. Overall, staff is recommending a budget across all funds for operating capital of $155,493,264. The negative $34,881 in total operating changes since the proposed budget study session reflect the increases and decreases as discussed in the earlier slide. So here, when reviewing both revenues and appropriations with the recommended changes included, again, across all funds for both operating capital budgets, revenues are recommended at $150,378,779 and appropriations recommended at $155,493,264, resulting in a use of fund balance of $5,114,485. Next, diving a little deeper into the revenues, this table compares general fund revenue categories compared to last year's adopted budget. All changes to recommended revenues for fiscal year 27 reflect recommended changes discussed in a previous slide, and the impacts are shown here in red. Overall, revenues are up $12.3 million, or 12.6% compared to last year. Sales tax revenue increases are driven primarily by strong performance from a small number of businesses, increases in licenses and permits due to development-related activity, and updated fee assumptions. There are increases in use of money and property revenues, and this is primarily due to higher investment earnings. Now looking at expenditures, expenditures are up $10.7 million, or 10.8% compared to last year. All changes to the recommended expenditures for fiscal year 27 reflect recommended changes discussed, and the impacts are shown in red. The major drivers include the following: personnel costs, which have increased due to projected cost of benefits for the upcoming year, such as retirement and health plans, as well as negotiated increases. Contract services Increases are primarily driven by outsourcing legal services, law enforcement contract costs, and community shuttle rate increases and increased ridership. This here is the fund balance chart that reflective of changes that were presented as part of the proposed budget study session. The unassigned fund balance year-end projection for fiscal year 2026 was updated to reflect recent budget adjustments, which also impact the final fiscal year 2027 projected fund balance. It's important to note that in this chart, the $224,320 is currently classified as assigned fund balance. However, it will be moved to unassigned fund balance as part of final budget. These next few slides will cover all budget requests by department, and at this time, I will cover only the items in red, which reflect changes made to the budget since the proposed budget was printed on May 4th. In the administration department, $25,000 is requested for special projects for strategic communication strategy. Council had approved this project as part of the fiscal year 2025 to 2027 city work program in December of 2025. Staff is requesting $25,000 to establish citywide standards to embed meaningful engagement into every city project. Funds will be used to secure a contractor to administer a citywide survey targeting residents' responses about public outreach standards. And staff will utilize the survey results to present a report to council about outreach strategies and recommended policy implementation. Additionally, there is a request for $34,119. This is for the senior assistant city attorney salary adjustment. At the May 19, 2026 city council meeting, council had approved an increase to salary and benefits to align the salary of the senior assistant city attorney. And also for $60,000 is the automated license plate reader, as mentioned earlier. And this is to remove $60,000, which was previously allocated annually to fund the automated license plate reader contract with Flock Safety. Also, there is a request of $47,000 to remove that amount per council direction due to cost reduction of the annual Cupertino Chamber of Commerce contract. It was previously budgeted at $52,000 per year, and the contract terms are now at a maximum of $5,000 per year. In the Community Development Department, there is a request City Council approved a 3-year contract through the Rise Housing Solutions for administration of the below market rate program. Staff originally budgeted $20,000. However, the exact total for the contract is $213,000. Therefore, staff is requesting additional appropriations of $13,000. In the IT department, staff is requesting recurring costs of $62,000 to cover ongoing costs beyond fiscal year 2027. These ongoing costs are highlighted here. They were inadvertently excluded from the study session presentation. And these are they were originally a one-time expense, and now we are identifying them as a recurring expense. In the Public Works Department, there are no changes since the proposed budget was published. And again, no changes to Public Works Department. Next, we will cover community funding. In April, the Parks and Recreation Commission approved the following proposed list of organizations to recommend City Council for funding, totaling $32,500. If there is additional funding available, the Parks and Recreation Commission recommended to first fund Fremont Union High School's foundation, and the remaining organizations' requested amount in rank order at the council's discretion, as shown in these next 2 slides. Now, we will highlight these capital improvement plan. The proposed CIP budget is $7.5 million, along with $175,000 of ongoing administrative support. The chart below, sorry, that's it. Okay. The chart below includes the ongoing costs of $175,000 for the for CIP preliminary planning and design and capital project support, which are part of the base budget. Now we'll briefly cover the 10-year forecast. This has remained largely unchanged from when presented during the May proposed budget study session. In the out years, the deficit is primarily driven by a few factors: a recession scenario modeled in fiscal year 2027-28, the sunset of the utility users tax in fiscal year 2030-31, and uncertainty surrounding the long-term growth of the sheriff's contract. Additionally, it incorporates the removal of at-risk ERAF and inclusion of the administration of BMR housing units. This chart also has remained largely unchanged. However, year 10 now shows that the unassigned fund balance is 0 in the last year of the forecast. Unassigned is the pool of spendable money in the general fund that has not been restricted or committed or assigned for a specific purpose. There are no changes in requests to staffing. Tonight's recommendations are to approve recommended actions 1 through 3 as identified in the staff report, including the $60,000 reduction of the automated license plate readers, and also approval of any other council recommended changes that you may have this evening. And as for next steps, again, this budget represents months of collaboration, so I want to thank all involved in preparing this document. Staff respectfully recommends adoption of tonight's budget, and staff is now available for any questions that you may have.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony, for the presentation. Do we have more? Oh, okay.
I forgot to move the slide over. This concludes tonight's presentation.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Jonathan, for all of the hard work on this and moving over to the OpenGov format. So there was a lot going on behind the scenes, and that'll continue to be worked on even after we approve the budget. Do we have any clarifying questions at this time from the council? Councilmember Wong.
Thanks a lot. I know that we spent a lot of time on expenses. I just wanted to get some quick overview on the revenues. It looks like we're back at 2023 levels in terms of the revenues, and that shows a 12.6% interest. But I do have two areas that I do want to go deep on. I just want to understand license and permits. We're up 53.2%, and it's up compared to even 3 to 4 years ago. What's driving that? And is it durable? Is it durable is the more important question.
The short is in 2023-24 council, there was a cost allocation plan that was conducted by Matrix that reassessed all of the city's fees, which the city's stance, once presented, was to go into a full cost recovery model. And so the fees were updated, and there was a handful of fees that took several years to come into full cost recovery. And at this point, I do believe that number that we've included there is sustainable. That is not a one-time increase in revenue.
Okay, and we've also taken a huge, we've managed to get a better increase in sales tax revenue, but compared to 2023, it is almost like 50% reduction from that level. We're at 30.9 million in 2023. We are coming in about 16.9 million today. What's driving the sales tax revenue?
We have seen a strong growth in sales taxes than initially anticipated, even for fiscal year 25-26.
It's 5 million more.
Yes. And so some of the information, unfortunately, is confidential, and I can't disclose as to what's driving it. However, it is the short is there's been some strong performance by a few companies, businesses within the city.
Okay, all right. So, okay, so even though we're 12.6% up, we're still down from the 115 million in revenues from 2024. But it's showing signs of improvement on the revenue side. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Hi. So I see that there is $25,000 request for the community engagement or city work program item. And we haven't seen that item since this year. So I am just curious, what is that amount? So usually when we adopt the work program, we do provide some budgets. So there was no $0 allocated for this last year.
Vice Mayor, I can take that question. So this was an item that was added in December when we did the revision of the work program. But this was just a slight oversight that the 25,000 didn't get allocated when we brought the proposed budget, so we're bringing it now.
Okay. So what are we expecting to spend that on?
So the $25,000, and we may need to check the title of the project that's listed in the presentation, but this is for bringing uniformity and some expectation for departments to use as a guide when there is a project that may require public engagement. Currently, there's nothing in place. So we're hoping to look at models and incorporate that within our city's engagement strategy. This is different than the work program item that has to do with the radius.
Oh.
This is just a small project that we think would benefit overall engagement with the community.
Okay. So the work program item that we are looking at, notification radius, I think we somehow reduced that over the years, and then we have community members who want to increase that to 1,000, which other cities are doing. So that's still being worked on.
That's still ongoing. That's slated to go to Planning Commission, I believe, in July, and then it will come to council in fall.
And then also, I think it will also look at the notification for citywide rezoning, right? Many people said they were not notified, but when citywide, there was only a newspaper publication. Many people didn't see.
Yeah, so there are legal notification standards that we must follow, but there's with the work program that talks about broadening that radius, and with this engagement strategy, we are aiming to go above and beyond what's legally required to make sure that we can notify the public appropriately.
Okay, great. There was another question I forgot.
Councilmember Mohan?
Is your microphone on, Councilwoman?
Sorry. Sorry. My question was about the law enforcement ALPR. We eliminated that. I know the controversies in other cities and so on, and there was the sheriff was involved in the oversight of this. Does it have anything to do with the sheriff's contract, or is this independent, or why are we eliminating that? Because it seemed like it was a popular program.
Yeah, I can provide some clarity. So this is the $60,000 per year was tied to the flock cameras that the city had contracted directly with. The data that flock company gathered through these cameras was only accessible by the sheriff's office, who is our local law enforcement agency. So the county board of supervisors took action so they decided that they do not want to work with flock due to some privacy concerns. So because the county no longer works with flock cameras or flock safety, the data, even if we continue to pay for these cameras in this contract and collect data, the sheriff's office can no longer access the data or work with them. So it does not work or benefit Cupertino to continue paying $60,000 to this vendor that the county no longer works with. Through the ongoing negotiations related to the sheriff's contract and law enforcement, we have brought this up to the county's attention that there's an interest that this is absorbed through the law enforcement contract, but those are ongoing negotiations, so I don't have an answer yet. But currently, as we stand, the county is not able to, or sheriff's office is not able to use flock cameras, and so it does not make sense for Cupertino to continue paying flock cameras for this service.
Okay, because there was equipment that was installed to
That belonged to
facilitate this.
flock safety, so they have
Those
taken
are still
them.
in place.
No, that they have been removed because they're no longer usable for Cupertino because we're under the county jurisdiction for law enforcement.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I remembered my question. I think last time I did ask for a historical staffing level chart, which I usually was able to find in the adopted budget. And then I couldn't find that anymore. If you can bring up that chart, because I remember when we were having the budget reduction talk back in 2023, I remember there was because our headcount increased a lot in 2021, and there was a promise to bring it down to a pre-COVID level by 2030. But then I see that there is no staffing change this year. So I'm just wondering, are we still on target, or are we still have a plan to go down to the pre-2019 level at some year? Do we have data on that?
As far as the providing that table, we can incorporate it as part of the final budget, and we can shortly after this meeting we can put that together and provide it as a informational memo. In terms of the staffing, from my understanding, this was largely driven by the CDTFA audit due to the loss of that sales tax revenue. And a lot of the positions were that were supposed to be eliminated were going to be through attrition. And from my understanding, there was a change in that strategy a year or so ago that was possibly put on pause. But we can have a conversation internally as far as if that is still the desire to move forward with that staffing reduction or to continue at status quo.
We made a decision because my understanding is even with the settlement, we did not have to return some of the back tax that we had to return. So we were able to retain those. However, going forward, it doesn't really change the outlook for Cupertino. So why are we changing that strategy? Because we are still looking at a pretty significant drop in sales tax.
Okay, we'll have that conversation. Valid questions. We'll have to have a conversation with Human Resources and City Manager's Office to discuss that strategy, and we can include that as part of the information.
So at this point, there we are not we don't have a plan to drop headcount to pre-2019 level.
That is not my understanding.
Okay. Because there was a big spike for our sales tax revenue during COVID because a lot of online sales, I think. And then our headcount also went up. But now we are back down in our revenue. Okay, thank you.
I was just wondering, Jonathan, if you could bring up the chart showing the unassigned fund balance. It had the bands.
We also have Councilmember Fruin's hand.
Oh, his hand's raised. Okay. Yes, that one. So in this chart, where would we find funds that we would be using if we were to, for instance, build a new city hall?
So it's that bottom blue band, and it's called the Future Use Reserve. and currently it's at $62 million. And would you like me to go into the history of that?
No, I'm looking more ahead. If we decide to be spending that money down, have you looked into what that impact is going to be with regards to use of money and property for outer years?
Yes. So we've ran some models. If the city were to use these funds to, let's say, renovate City Hall or retrofit it, we can expect about a $1 million decrease in interest earnings in the out years.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Councilmember Fruin, I see your hands up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Going back to the property tax projections, I appreciate the desk item. I am still a little curious, though, even taking out the potential of the ERAF figures being reduced, we were originally only in this proposed budget looking at a roughly, I think, 1.4% increase in property taxes. Historically, it's been considerably higher. It was something like 4% from fiscal year 23-24 to fiscal year 24-25. So can you explain to us a little bit more about sort of what the methodology was and the approach to this, what seems to me very conservative estimate?
So initially, we built this budget off of HDL, who is the city's industry expert. The initial, how we built the budget assumed your secured, unsecured amounts in addition to your VLF. ERF, as part of our general ledger, is included as one item in our general ledger. So it consolidates secured and unsecured. And so the city collects about $1 million in ERAF funding. And so when we budgeted this, there was no consideration for that amount. Now, yes, it is conservative in what we have there. There is an opportunity to update that, but I would like to wait till October 1 or till Q1 to assess the amounts. Now, it is certainly within council if they would like to increase that by approximately, I think the amount we were initially estimating was near $1 million that we could collect, but that is an option to the by the council.
Okay, I guess the question that I'm really getting to is the nature of the proposed 26-27 budget versus what was adopted in 25-26, that particular increase is relatively small. So were you already building into your assumptions the notion that we would have ERAF being rated? Is that the idea? Because my understanding from the desk item and the responses to the prior questions is that that's what's accounting for the difference between the final and the proposed.
Correct. The 224 is the at-risk amount, and there's an apportion. There was staff oversight as far as not budgeting the full ERAF amount that would be expected that's built into the secured, unsecured GL account line.
Okay, so you're saying then that this number would just go back up by roughly the $200,000 that you were describing?
Correct. And no,
okay.
In addition to that. Or not in addition. Give me a brief moment. Sorry. Where's the chart I was providing? Excuse me, we're pulling up a chart now, so I can give you exact numbers as to what we were looking at.
Sure. So maybe I'll rephrase my sort of the focus of my question, which is that from 23-24 to 24-25, we saw a roughly 4% increase in property tax revenues. In the year following that, roughly 2.8. And then what was in the expected budget, the one that was proposed for this year, it looked like we were only expecting about 1.4, which is a pretty significant drop. So I'm just curious as to why it was already looking quite sober.
So the short is there was the ERAF itself was not originally built into the original proposal, which based off HDL's supplemental addendum, they believe it's about $1 million that the city could expect. And so if we were to build that, that would bring us up closer to the 3% increase. We can certainly build that. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense to me. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. In the course of developing this budget and knowing that the utility users tax is going to expire on the horizon, did you do a projection that includes a renewal of that tax?
We did. Give me a brief moment. We can pull up the informational memo that included that projection. If you give us a brief moment, we'll pull that up shortly.
Absolutely.
In the interim, do you have any other questions?
Those are the major ones for my colleagues. I just wanted to underscore, and I'll ask your forgiveness, Madam Mayor, that this may sound slightly off topic, but I will bring it back to the point. There is a written communication that I submitted, which results from a lengthy discussion that Councilmember Wong and I had with respect to fire safety measures after our last discussion of the health and safety element. That discussion produced a number of items that seemed like they would appropriately fit into either the council work program or elsewhere into the budget, because they would require some expenditure of resources on the part of the city. And I've included some supplemental direction there that we could give staff today, either for the TBD list or for an update at the Q1 update later on in the year. And I would appreciate if the rest of you had the chance to examine it and see if you would like to include it in tonight's direction.
If there's any other questions from council, we can still circle back as we're pulling that up.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
Okay. So I found the chart in the last year's ACFR, the staffing chart for full-time equivalent for city employee. And you can see the total in this line. The chart is below, but the total, it shows 2019 is 196, and last year is 212. Zoom up a little. So zoom up on the table where you can see the numbers. So I think we are still more than 2019 number. I kind of remember there was an intention to try and reduce to pre-COVID number. And so it seems we should still look at the head count. Yeah. That may be a future agenda item for this council to consider. Stop sharing, yeah.
Thank you. Did you locate it?
Yes.
Great.
Video can please display what is included in the on the great.
Video team, we added another document, not the PowerPoint presentation. Oh, we have it here. Thank you.
Perfect. Just so that we circle back, this is the 10-year forecast that we had included as part of the study session in May, and so so we can reference that as a initial baseline. Now, if UUT, as you can see, beginning in fiscal year 2030, we start going into a deficit, and then in 2030, and then in 2031, it increases. Eventually, in 2036, we have a $9.5 million deficit. Now, that's changed since then. We have 10.2 with some of the changes. However, if you were to compare that and just assume that the UUT is renewed ongoing, you would go from a deficit of 10.5 or 9.5 million in fiscal year 2036 to a deficit of 4.5 million in 2036. And so at that point, you'll see about a $5 million swing in terms of revenues that are being collected.
Thank you very much.
It still has Vice Mayor on here. Oh, okay. Then Councilmember Wong.
Yeah, I just want to, sorry. I just wanted to reiterate the point that Councilmember Fruin made. There's some items here in the desk memo that really about wildfire safety to be added in the future for the CIP program, something included when we talk about that later. So,
Councilmember Mohan.
This is for Jonathan and staff. Aside from the reserve, the unassigned reserves or the assigned reserves, we also have a fund balance, a healthy fund balance, right? And I'm not seeing that in today's staff report, but it's in the budget book. Is it possible for you to pull that up, or?
I think that gets back to the chart that Mayor had requested earlier. Let us pull that back up. So what the mayor had focused in earlier was the future use reserve, which is that blue bar at the bottom.
Right. No, I wasn't talking about this. I was talking about the difference between the expenditures and the revenues, which had a number something like 177 million.
Okay, give us a brief moment. We'll pull that one up.
And I think when I asked you this question, Jonathan, a couple of months ago, yeah, okay. The fund balance basically represents the difference between expenditures and revenues, and indicates that the revenues are higher than our expenditures. We've been cutting back on expenditures, which leads to a fund balance. And so this 176 million or 140 million, this is the result. This basically is the difference between budgeted revenues and actual expenditures.
I'd say it's a culmination of years' worth of revenues exceeding expenditures.
Okay. Okay, so on this chart then, the 62 million I understand is reserved for future use, probably the City Hall project. But where are the other big numbers which we could use?
Yeah, so
The unassigned, the 59 million, for example.
Yeah, so that is essentially, I hate to use the term plug, but essentially that's what it is. So restricted funds, I'll start with the classification types. Restricted funds are funds that are restricted by outside agencies. And then committed are council or the governing body's elected or commitment to a specific purpose. So we have an economic uncertainty reserve of $26.5 million. And that is a formula driven, which is 2 months worth of expenditures and 1.5 months of revenue. The reserve for future use, again, this is just money set aside and with the intention of using it in the future for a specific purpose. Discussions have been surrounding the use of this specifically for the City Hall renovations. The Sustainability Reserve, these are just funds that have been collected and they've essentially remained static over the last few years. Assigned, this is, you see 224 here, but this is what we could expect to be at risk at the end of next fiscal year, or ERAF at the end of next year. Unassigned, this is essentially what is left over, and that's your $59 million.
Right. And so what is does it just sit there? Or what is the plan for the 59 million?
Currently, there is no specific plan for it. As you saw with the forecast, we'll be whittling away at that over the next 10 years, unless the city negotiates more favorable terms, or if, let's say, the assessment for the sheriff's contract comes back and we're able to pay less, or what is legally bound for the city, which is what that assessment is going to address. I think that's comparing last year's budget to this year's forecast. That's really the primary driver of the decrease in our unassigned fund balance between now and fiscal year 2035-36.
Right. And I know your projections showed that at some point the unassigned would be zero.
Yeah.
But that's assuming that things stay static. Now, every year we're going to have an unassigned amount, right? Because if we continue to be cautious and careful in our expenditures, and if the revenues come in as they're expected to come in, we will be building up a fund balance every year.
That is assuming our budgeted revenues exceed our expenditures. Correct. However, in a couple years, our expenditures are going to exceed our revenues at a current level of expenditure level and a revenue assumptions. So if our expenditures continue to grow at their current level and our revenues grow, the expenditures outpace our revenues and it will eventually exceed our collected revenues, at which point our revenue or unassigned fund balance will decrease.
And your expectation that expenditures will increase is because of salary increases mainly?
It's largely driven by two factors. One main topic earlier today is the sheriff's contract. The second one is the sunset of our utility tax or utility user tax.
I just want to add a little bit to what Jonathan's saying. So regarding the sheriff's contract, Councilman Mohan, we currently don't have a cap in terms of the cost, right? So we can't even project what the cost will be for the city ongoing if we sign an agreement. I know we're still negotiating, but that is a big question mark right now, is what that methodology looks like. What is it going to be our cost? If all terms stay the same as is today, the county is able to push down whatever costs they have for law enforcement onto cities, and we just don't have any visibility on that currently.
As another visual, so as you can see here, for the first 3 years, you see blue bars. Those blue bars indicate that the city will have revenues exceeding our expenditures. And this factors in a vacancy rate, which our budget does not. but beginning fiscal year 2030, we'll have a deficit, at which point those deficits will eat away at our unassigned fund balance.
And does this include the sheriff's contract projections?
That is correct.
This charge does. Okay. Okay, thank you for now.
You're very welcome.
At this time, I'm not seeing any further hands raised from the council. Madam City Clerk, how many speaker cards do we have?
Mayor, at this time I have 5 requests to speak here in person in Community Hall. These are all 5 groups, totaling 34 minutes. And at this time, I don't see any hands raised virtually.
Okay, are these a single topic?
It appears they are all the same topic.
Okay, so we're going to go to 90 seconds per individual or 1 minute if they're in a group per person. Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
great. And as a reminder, members of the public wishing to speak regarding this item shall submit a request to speak card or raise their hand virtually within the 9 minutes of the start of public comment or before the public comment period is closed, whichever comes first. So at this time, we will welcome Jennifer Chen's group, followed by Marshall's group, followed by Mary's group. Welcome, Jennifer Chen and your group. Is your group here in person representing? Do you have a group of people? Is that Dina and Megan with you? I'm sorry?
For a short thing, do I need a group?
The group has to be present in order to cede time. So
I am not Jennifer Chen. She
Okay.
had to leave, so.
Okay.
My name is Dina
Dina.
Horeb.
Okay. Perfect.
And I'm going to be reading what she had said.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I appreciate being heard, and I would like to note that this is not
Excuse
mine,
me. Pull the
but
microphone
her
over.
first time addressing. the
Pull the
council.
microphone. Get the microphone.
I got to repeat that. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Can you hear me now?
We can.
I appreciate being heard, and I would like to note that this is not mine, but her first time addressing the council. I would just like to have everybody here who's in support of Memorial Park pickleball to please raise their hands, just so you can see how many people have stuck it out tonight. Jennifer has been a resident of Cupertino for 25 years and a member of our local pickleball club. I support the noise screen on the budget. While our courts attract players from other cities, the noise affects only our residents. This is a $150,000 project, and it costs our city only $2.50 per resident. It's a small price to pay to protect the quality of life for our neighbors. It allows us to keep the facility open while keeping our homes quiet. Furthermore, these players bring economic activity to our city as many visit our local businesses for meals and shopping after they play. This project is a practical way to support our local economy while being a good neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. Next, we will welcome Marshall's group, followed by Mary's group, followed by Tom's group, followed by Bianca's group. Welcome, Marshall and your group. You have 3 people, so 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you for listening to us. My name's Marshall Maple. I moved to Cupertino in '94. I moved to California in 1981. I came here for the schools. Both my kids went K through 12, graduated from Monte Vista, And I can proudly say that both of them said high school was harder than the UCs they got into. So great job on the school system. They were ready. I chose to stay here for the weather and the outdoor activities from volleyball, skiing, and currently pickleball. I started with lessons at the Cupertino Sports Center. I played regularly at Cupertino Memorial Park probably for the last 3 years. I watched it transition from temporary lines on one tennis court to 2 tennis courts with permanent lines and a whole cast of people. And the big differentiator for it is the bench on the side. The bench allows people to congregate in between games, meet people, and socialize. And I started playing pickleball for the physical fitness aspect of it, but I think it's the social aspect that has kept me there all this time. The people behind me are a testament to that. One of the things that's neat about it is it's open play. There's a single cue, and the bench, it's really not there. If you look at the other areas like Mitchell Park, Regnart, or Rengstorff, and Mackenzie, they don't have that. But one thing Mackenzie has done, they've installed these sound barriers. They're effective at handling the noise. You can talk to them and see the effectiveness of that. We, as the pickleball group, have proactively talked to the neighbors and voluntarily implemented rules to have quiet paddles in the morning just to help them, because there is a distinct noise of pickleball. And it's disturbing, but they appreciate that, and the sound barriers are the solution. We were kind of caught off guard that there was this temporary rule that was being proposed, no pickleball on Monday, quiet paddles all day. It really changes the dynamic of that. They never, meaning the neighbors never heard about it, we didn't. We ask that if you're going to make changes, please involve us in the discussion. We will work actively with you and all parties. But I saw that the sound barrier was in the approved budget. I hope it's going through. I hope we can count on it getting installed soon. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Marshall, and your group. Next, we will welcome Mary's group, followed by Tom Cunningham's group, followed by Bianca's group.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council. My name is Mary Hansel. I am a resident of Cupertino, and I'm speaking on behalf of the pickleball community in support of the proposed sound wall. The pickleball courts are a great example of Cupertino's commitment to health and wellness and their strategic vision to improve the quality of life here. This helps residents stay active, create social connections, and reduces isolation, benefits that become even more important as our population ages. As the Blue Zone research on longevity shows, if someone lives in a community that is structured to encourage physical activity and socialization, people embrace it and live longer and happier lives. At the same time, we want to be good neighbors. We understand and respect the concerns of nearby residents. Our community has already taken steps, as he just said, to reduce noise, encouraging use of soft paddles during the early morning hours. Yet behavioral changes can only go so far. A sound wall provides a long-term solution that benefits everyone. This project solves a real neighborhood concern while preserving a self-sustaining community that's already developed significant health, wellness, and social benefits. I also know this from my own personal experience. The pickleball community welcomed me, taught me the game, and when I suffered a hamstring injury on the court, people I barely knew immediately stopped playing to help me, offer advice, and make sure I got medical care. That experience showed me that this is much more than a recreational activity. It's a genuine community. Few city investments have such a broad impact for such a modest cost, and we continue to try to partner with the city to reduce staff time. This is a win for nearby residents, a win for public health, and a win for community building in Cupertino. I respectfully ask for your support on the sound wall budget item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Next, we will welcome Tom Cunningham's group, followed by Bianca's group.
Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing us to speak today. I'm here on behalf of the Pickleball Club. My name is Tom Cunningham. I'm a Cupertino resident. And I want to talk about impact, because that's what the pickleball community is having. On a regular basis, we have some 80 people that are playing per hour or even less participating in this event. It is engaging the community in a huge way. And I know that you're constantly searching for a better way to engage the community, to provide inclusion, and to make an impact. Again, you're doing that here. But it's important to note that pickleball is an enormously growing popular sport. They estimate that 24 million people throughout the country are playing pickleball, and in the last few years, it's grown 175%. Now, Commissioner Wang, you said, when you were talking about the budget, proportionate to what we are getting, right? You have to assess things based upon what you are getting. Well, if you talk about the number of people that you're involving in the community, it's astronomical. You've got a group that has over 1,000 members. You have people that are not only engaging in an event that takes place locally. It was mentioned that they had stands. They have basically a bleachers where people can interact as well as participate in the sport itself. But you're talking about engaging people and in an organization that's aligned with Cupertino's strategic vision of improving quality of life through recreation and community building. We are the embodiment of that pledge. You're talking about multi-generational impact, involving the elderly that are facing loneliness and overcoming that, involving students that are dealing with stress and overcoming that, making children feel more comfortable, more safe in their community. So you've got a social connection, you've got a mental health connection. Kitty, I know that you're involved with Move More. This embodies that completely. You know, you've got an initiative that gets residents to be more physically active and create and join communities. You couldn't ask for a better solution. I'm just amazed because I spoke to somebody recently and said they were on a cruise and they had pickleball courts on the cruise. I went to church on Sunday and the priest said, you know, my triglycerides were going through the roof, but somebody in the community here talked to me about playing this game pickleball, and I started doing it, and I had dangerous levels of triglycerides, and now they're down. You know, I don't want to sound like a snake oil salesman, but my goodness gracious, when you talk about the number of things that this particular sport is addressing in the community that are hitting the goals that we're trying to achieve, it's there. It's already there. I can guarantee you, and especially with Councilman Wang's point, you're getting bang for your buck. The sound wall is an excellent solution. I've done a lot of background research on my own. I've spoken to Chad about this. I think it's a great solution. It's a relatively small cost in the grand scheme of things. $2.50 per resident if you want to apply that to it. But nonetheless, it's an excellent solution. And it can help to overcome any hesitation that you might have in terms of adopting the sport. But I can guarantee you it's going to grow whether we like it or not. Thank you for your help.
Thank you, Tom. Next, we have Bianca and your group.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. On behalf of our local pickleball community, I want to express our sincere appreciation for your thoughtful consideration of the CIP Noise Attenuation Project. We recognize the challenge of balancing the concerns of neighboring residents with the need for vibrant public recreation and appreciate your commitment to listening to all perspectives before making your decision. I will not take more of your time repeating the well-known benefits of pickleball. You are already familiar with the positive impact this sport has on the physical health, mental well-being, and social connections of our residents. Our club's efforts have always been aligned with the city's strategic vision, promoting health, community connection, and free, inclusive recreation for all residents. We are also committed to building trust and continuing to work with Parks and Recreations to help reduce staff time and support practical long-term solutions. As you deliberate, we trust in your commitment to serve the best interest of the entire community. We respectfully ask that you approve the CIP Noise Attenuation Project, which preserves both neighborhood quality of life without compromising access to this valuable community recreation resource. Thank you for your ongoing service, your dedication to our community, and for taking the time to listen to us. The pickleball community wants to move more with Mayor Kirin Moore.
Thank you, Bianca. And that concludes the request to speak in person in Community Hall. We do have one hand raised virtually. At this time, we will go ahead and welcome San Rao.
Good evening, Mayor Moore and council members. Speaking on behalf of myself only as a resident, I will say that I have followed budget discussions for many years now, and this year is probably the least transparent and the least amount of exposure that residents have had on the actual year-over-year variances on revenue line items, on expense line items, on departmental line items. I am appalled that we spent all the community outreach talking about some feature of OpenGov stories, which at the very onset I had warned that this is a distraction and has nothing to do with the specifics of actual budgetary line items. Today, there has been not a single mention of OpenGov stories, and yet multiple community outreach sessions were held on OpenGov stories, which has had no relevance to the discussion today. In reality, this was just a ruse. It was a ruse to distract the public from the real conversations. For the first time today, there is a budget report that does not show year over year for past 5 years. I want to thank Vice Mayor Chow for asking the questions that need to be asked about 2019. You actually need to go back to 2014. Cupertino's population has declined, and our staffing has increased. And we're seeing abhorrent cuts that are being proposed to kid safety, disguising it as CUSD and FUHSD, when in reality,
Thank you, Sam.
the
That is your
occupants
time.
of
Thank you. Mayor, that concludes the request to speak on this item.
All right, I see one hand raised. Councilmember Wong.
Yeah, I wasn't going to talk about pickleball sound walls, but given how many people showed up here, I want to know how many people in this room are actually from Cupertino? Raise your hands. You're all Cupertino residents? Okay. And when we go to the pickleball course, how many people are, what percentage are actual pickleball residents? It's a very small number. You guys know that. I'm not going to go there. But we're not against pickleball.
Councilmember Wong, try not to engage the...
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you.
So when we talk about proportionate, right, it's an issue. It's very important to know that. And the issue really is, I mean, when you're looking at resident versus non-resident fees, Cupertino does not charge resident versus non-resident fees. That's why everybody's there. And so... Pardon. I'm not trying to create a fight with you guys. We're not against pickleball.
Excuse me.
You can...
Excuse me. Members of the public, do not shout out. Councilmember Wong has the floor. Your time to speak has already passed. Thank you.
So I'm not against the sound wall either. I think it's important. Right now we have a proposal for a sound wall that's 3 times the cost of a normal sound wall. When I'm down in Naples at the professional center with 60 courts, I mean, they've got sound walls, and they've got really good sound walls. That's not the point. The point is we have a very expensive proposal out there that should be 1/3 the cost for what it is. And if you look in the letter that was sent into comments to the public, right, a contractor actually proposed to actually do it for us for 1/3 the cost that was proposed. So it's not about having a sound wall or not having a sound wall. It's a question of, are we paying too much for a sound wall? So I think it's really important to look at that. And if we're going to put $150,000 on a sound wall, it's really worth $50,000. And even then, it was a $30,000 quote. I mean, that's already too much. So I think we should be looking at how much it should be. And I think that's an important piece. So no one's against it, pickleball. But I think the way it's being organized, the way it's, are you a resident, not a resident? Can you talk with a resident? Can you speak with a resident? The way you guys organize makes it seem very antagonistic. That's not the point. I mean, people want different activities. People want quality of life, but not at $150,000. And I encourage staff to go back and find a better proposal, not at $150,000 for a sound wall when it really costs $30,000. And I'd be happy to approve $50,000.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Wong. I think at this time we should probably parse out the pickleball item and separate the vote on that. Vice Mayor? Pardon. So what I'm looking for is a motion simply on the pickleball item.
Do we want to do that first?
Yes.
Well, I would make a motion to approve the pickleball sound wall at $50,000, not at $150,000. Is there a second for that?
I have an alternative motion.
Oh, you got alternative motion? Go for it.
Would you like to move?
Yeah, you do
Okay.
your motion first.
Okay. So I wouldn't personally spend money or allocate money for a sound wall without having any idea if it could even possibly work. So some other options we can do would be to continue the pilot program, provide a 3-month update on the pilot program, particularly with information on enforcement, send the pickleball noise issue to the Parks and Recreation Commission. 2, along with staff, come up with an array of options, including municipal code restrictions on the placement of further pickleball courts near sensitive receptors, allocate a funding of $10,000 for professional noise study to determine if a sound wall at Memorial Park would or could reduce the noise levels from both the bleachers and pickleball courts to meet the municipal code noise ordinance, and remove the wall funding until we have more information and direction. The noise study results would go to the Parks and Recreation Commission for their discussion, and they would study also the impact of the sound frequency. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, but I don't agree completely.
That's fine.
So,
We can modify.
Yeah. Okay. So I think 150,000 for the sound wall is really not a lot to spend if it does reduce the noise impact to the neighbors. So I agree that we should do a study so that we know what's the current noise level, including not only just the regular decibel, but also really measure the impact of frequencies of sound. So the actual impact to the human ear, and then what will be expected of sound after we have the barrier. I understand from staff, I think one of my main concerns was I don't want to see an opaque barrier that I've seen in other cities. It's not only aesthetically not good, but also I think that I do am concerned about safety when you can't really see anything within a space. But I understand from the staff, transparent panel, actually the cost is about the same as opaque panel, but the noise reduction level might be not as good. That's why I think we need to do study. And where I disagree is I hope, because the pilot, the process of designing, I appreciate the staff for taking the effort to start the pilot. But if I feel the process of deriving that program didn't really have a public process. And I appreciate that staff wants to reduce the early morning hours so that, because as a neighbor, being subject to early morning noise 7 days a week is a lot. So I appreciate that. However, I don't understand why we need to have a Monday off specifically. So I'm hoping maybe that's delay the pilot, just send this to the Parks and Rec Commission to decide the parameters of a pilot. Then we implement a pilot for 3 months.
Okay. Thank you,
But
Vice Mayor.
I talked to the immediate neighbor also. What they are saying is because of the summer, some people are starting to play on things like 6:30 a.m. And that's really too early. And I actually looked around to the other, I used Google Map to look at all the other pickleball courts that's next to single family home neighbors. None of them is as close as the one that's in Memorial Park. And the one at Calabasas Park is close second. However, their hours don't start until 9 o'clock or 4. So ours really is very early. And I understand that we will have to provide more pickleball court as a city because this is a growing sport. That need is there. But then I think it's important that we make the first experience enjoyable for the players and the neighbors so that we pave the path for more pickleball courts. It's similar to how we did the dog off-leash pilot. It was very contentious in the city. For many years, there were opposition to that. But we started a pilot. And then I think because the community and the city staff was very careful in implementing that pilot, and that relieved a lot of people's concern about potentially aggressive dogs. And then eventually we were able to implement that in more parks. So that's what I would like to see. And that's be careful and implement it really well so that we find the best solution for pickleball. So I'm hoping maybe let's have the Parks and Rec come up with a pilot in a month. And so you don't accept that?
No, and the reason why is that even somewhat quieter sports like soccer, they don't have Sunday play, and the reason why that was enacted was so that the neighbors around the field would get a rest from having the soccer games going on throughout the weekend. And so they would have Sunday off, and there's other sports within the city that aren't allowed Sunday play. And it's specifically for the neighbors to have that rest time. This in particular, I've been out in around 10, around 2, and then also in the evenings. We are violating our own noise ordinance currently, and the residents have the right to enjoy their peaceful existence and use of their own property. And this makes it so that you're going to be listening to noise all day long, and it isn't just the pickleball noise of the sport. It's also, particularly in the evening, it's the fans. And I have a great concern that while individuals are talking about how great those bleachers are, in order to block sound, you need to be about 13 feet above where the sound is being generated from. So if you have individuals sitting up in the bleachers, they're saying you've got 80 people out there, so that means all the levels of the bleachers will be taken up. That sound wall would then have to be higher than the individuals in the bleachers who are making noise. So it becomes quite a challenge. So I would not, personally, I think having a day off is very kind for those neighbors. And it's a shame that the city has actually kind of done this to them without any consideration or care, asking them what they think. Yes.
So you remind me a point. I think when we consider sound barrier, we probably also want to put barrier next to the bleachers, because I spoke to some of the immediate neighbors. They are intimidated by the group, that they are afraid to speak up. Many of them, some of them, it's right in front of their home. They love to play pickleball. They love to join the community, but they were intimidated and even be excluded from the group. And that really is not very neighborly on some of the behavior. So I hope the group can consider that if you want, really, this is going to be a welcoming community. We need to really be friendly to the neighbors who actually are suffering the noise every day. And also, I think what you remind me is, if we are looking at some barrier, I think one thing they mentioned is not only the noise from the pickleball, it's also the shouting of people from the bleachers that's creating noise. And so maybe we should consider a barrier that will go over the bleacher area also, if that's something maybe that when we do the study that could be considered also.
Councilmember Mohan.
So the pickleball sound wall is part of a new CIP project that staff is proposing. And we have gone through many, many hours of discussion about pros, cons about pickleball and resident use and non-resident use and so on. And staff came up with a pilot project proposal, and our understanding was that that would take effect if the sound wall did not happen. Is that right? That it was either going to be the sound wall or the pilot project.
I think if the sound wall, which wasn't approved, the trial was brought forward when the sound wall was not approved yet.
Correct. And the conversation was that if the sound wall was built, that would be a solution to the problem of noise and so on. And then the pilot project that staff had proposed would not be needed if the sound wall was successful. Regardless, the $150,000 is just a budgeted amount. Now, and I'm assuming Chad, and I think I spoke to Chad some weeks ago, the plan is that we would go out, get bids, go with the lowest bid or the most efficient bid that we receive, and so on. So the $150,000 is not that we're going to go out and spend $150,000. If we get a proposal for $30,000, of course we'll spend $30,000, and then the $120,000 will be part of the fund balance for next year. I mean, going back to my earlier talk about the fund balance. So the $150,000 doesn't mean we're going to go out and spend $150,000. So let's keep it in the budget. Let's see what Public Works and Parks and Recreation and whoever else wants to get involved look into the convenience or the efficiency or the success of the sound wall. Let's not just dismiss it out of hand because we think we have better solutions. We are not the pickleball experts. We have staff who will do it for us. And my position is that we leave the sound wall as is in a CIP project, as a CIP project, and leave the $150,000 as a place marker.
Councilwoman Mohan, is that a motion that you're making now?
Oh, no, I don't know where we are on the
We
motion.
have two motions. We had the first motion, Councilmember Wong's motion, which did not get a second, and we had Mayor Moore's motion, which received a second, but it was sort of a second with extra items, and so that second was rejected.
So can this be a friendly amendment.
Actually,
As
no,
a
I-
point of order, I think it's a substitute motion.
What are we?
Thank you, Councilmember Wong.
Do I have a different second on my motion?
Sorry, I did second Mayor Moore. It's just I proposed an amendment that wasn't accepted, but I do second Mayor's motion.
Okay, very well.
So it's just my proposed amendment wasn't accepted.
Okay, so you second
I still
Mayor
second.
Moore's motion.
Okay, so I'm up. Director Mosley, thank you.
We also have Councilmember Fruin.
Yes, good. Okay, so, good evening. So if we were to do a noise study, what kind of information would we get out of that? And about how much would it cost?
For a noise study, we would analyze existing noise levels, and I would have a noise consultant evaluate if sound panels would be adequate to address the noise levels that we're looking at. In this situation, we'd probably be looking to make sure that we could bring those noise levels down to something that's consistent with the existing tennis courts. And the approximate cost for that's about $13,000.
$13,000, okay. So I need to, so probably 15,000 would probably be a more sensible funding allocation to have a study conducted.
I have currently a proposal for $13,100.
Okay, so I'll take that as a yes.
Yes.
Okay. And then they would determine also if they would be able to reduce the sound from the bleachers area as well.
And we could have them look at that when we have them evaluate that area.
Okay, and then alternatively, if there is no way to bring that sound level down, you would need to perhaps move the pickleball courts to the other end or another area of that tennis court.
We'd be looking at alternatives besides the sound walls. I'm not going to spend any more money on sound walls if it's not going to work.
Okay, and that's really kind of my point here as well, is to don't allocate money and start just going shopping for something if you don't know if it's even going to work in the end, and then we're going to look rather ridiculous for having spent a bunch of money on something that doesn't work, and now the neighbors will have to look at something that they might not like the look of. It's going to be blocking their view, because right now you can see through all of the light material there, and you can see the rest of the park. So I'm concerned about impacting their view that they've enjoyed. So now they've had the noise impacted on them, and then they're going to have this structure put in front of them. And so I certainly hope that there would be outreach to the neighbors who are going to be needing to look at whatever is put there, if that's how it turns out. Thank you. Councilmember Wong, and then Vice Mayor.
Actually, JR should go first.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Councilmember Fruin.
No, I just wasn't clear on whether Councilmember Mohan wanted to offer her substitute motion or not.
Go for it if you want.
He's asking you.
Oh.
Substitute motion.
Councilmember Fruin, did you say something?
Yes, no, it sounded like you were trying to offer a substitute motion
Okay.
for the
Yes.
CIP item as it appears in the budget presently.
Yes, I was.
Okay. Are you making that motion?
I'm making that motion.
Very well.
Then I will second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We could deliberate on that unless we're ready to go for a vote. I will not be supporting it. As you understand, coming from an engineering background, you do a noise study, determine if something is going to work. You don't just start building.
A question. So this sound barrier, how tall would that be? Would that be, how do we know how effective would that be? Because from the neighbors, I think the main concern also is for second floor bedroom window that's facing the pickleball. And those are the people who are mostly affected from early morning noise. But then they are higher up. So I do wonder if we do a barrier sound, the study for the effectiveness, are we going to look at how tall the sound wall would be, how effective they would be at different height? I assume we can look at that.
Hello? Okay. We're looking at putting in the sound panels on the existing fence, which is 12 feet high.
So, okay. So that means we might not be able to reduce noise to the second floor window.
As I look to the north, I think there's just one house that has a second floor, and it doesn't seem to have windows that are focused towards the courts, but that will be something that the sound engineer will evaluate.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And likely it won't bounce the sound, so the sound actually will be louder elsewhere.
Again, I'll have an acoustic engineer look at this, but currently the concept is to have some absorptive panels and then potentially some that will reflect. So it may reflect some of that sound south towards the court, or towards the park.
Oh, okay. Okay. So if we approve the sound barrier budget, are you still going to do a study?
Yeah, I mean, if we get a sound barrier, our first step is to perform the sound analysis, and we'll evaluate if it's going to kind of meet expectations. I mean, at that point in time, we could share that report. But if it's not going to meet expectations, I am not spending another dime, and we'll figure out what other options are available. But if it does look like it's going to work, the next step would be having a structural analysis done on that existing fence, because it needs to be structurally shored up, because it's not stable enough to handle the additional panels.
You will still do a study, and if it turns out that we cannot reduce the noise to the level of the tennis court, you will come to the council to report that this is not going to work, and then maybe we have to find other solution, and then we can remove that allocation from the budget.
Yeah, we can definitely report back. If it's not going to work, yeah, I'll let you guys know.
Would that be acceptable from the mayor?
Ordinarily, we do design. You have a design phase, and then staff comes back and requests for the funding for the build. So here, you're trying to lump everything all together, which isn't how the CIP projects ordinarily work. And so I would still, let's keep it doing the normal process, where you're going to do the design, essentially, get the noise study, get the design, see what has to be built, especially with regards to the bleachers, because I don't think you're going to be able to reduce the noise out of them at all. And I also think you're going to have sound coming up over this wall, since you're using the existing height panels as well. And you need to be 13 feet above the source of the noise in order to block it. So if you have a person standing that's facing the house, hooting and hollering, it's gonna go over the fence, and they're going to hear it. It won't block it. So that's why I say do the study first, and then follow the process, do the design, and then come back for the funding if that works. It may be that the pilot study actually the neighbors really like it, and that works, and that's a solution moving forward, and then the city doesn't have to spend more money on this project. But that would be really, to me, ideal. Councilmember Wong.
Oh, actually, sorry about that. I'm in I'll take that off. But I'm willing to support your motion.
So we have a substitute motion, and then the main motion. The substitute motion is to fund the whole thing now and see what happens. Okay.
So
yes.
the substitute motion, what's your thought on the pilot program? You would stop the pilot?
Yes, if the sound wall is effective.
But we don't know if it's effective now. So you
When-
will stop the pilot anyway?
When is the pilot taking effect? It hasn't started now.
Rochelle, would you remind the date when the pilot's set to begin? July 7th.
July what?
7th.
Oh. Yeah, I'd be okay with starting it.
So you'll be okay with
I mean, as a temporary measure.
starting the pilot? And
As a temporary measure.
how they are studying the barrier?
Yes.
And then we will decide whether the barrier is effective,
Is effective
or
or not, and we go with one or the other.
not.
Or we amend the pilot if we find out that it's not working the way it was originally envisioned. We can tweak the project. There's
So
nothing
it
sacred
seems
about
the
it.
difference between the two motions is really, when do we allocate? Do we allocate before we know it would work, or do we allocate
Well,
it after
well,
we
the
know it
alloc-
would work? There is not much difference really
The
between the two
allocating in the CIP project budget is to check out, is to
Why do you
analyze
feel
the
that
option.
It's important to allocate before we know it would work. Why couldn't you just support mayor's motion?
It's
really
funding
not
it
much
now as part of the budget. And what is a budget? A budget is a plan for the
We
the
always,
next year.
if
Hang
it
on one
turns out
second,
it
Vice
works-
Mayor.
Yeah, sorry.
The 150,000 is something we're putting in the budget now. Now, your plan or your suggestion is that we don't put the 150,000 now, but come 3 months down the line or 4 months down the line, and then ask for the money.
Yeah, we
That-
have done that with budget amendment all the
That's
time.
true, but what would be the purpose? I mean, at least we know that we have earmarked 150,000 for this project instead of coming 4 months down the line. Maybe who knows what's happening with the sheriff's contract by then, and we're opening up a whole new budget discussion when we could just as easily just say, okay, this is the budget, 150,000, with the understanding that we don't have to spend it all, and we shouldn't be spending it all. And if it works, we go with it. If it doesn't, we go back to the pilot project and tweak it if we need to.
Thank you, Councilmember Mohan. The main motion was actually more nuanced. It was first to continue the pilot program, provide a 3-month update on the pilot program, particularly with information on enforcement. Is it working or not? Send the pickleball noise issue to Parks and Recreation Commission to, along with staff, come up with an array of options, including municipal code restrictions on the placement of pickleball courts near sensitive receptors. We hear that this is a growing sport. It's also going to be a growing problem for the city. If individuals are building courts on their own property next to their neighbors and whatnot, and we don't have something in place for that. 3, to allocate the funding of $15,000 for a professional noise study to determine if a sound wall at Memorial Park would or could reduce the noise levels from the bleachers and pickleball courts to meet the municipal code noise ordinance. And lastly, remove the wall funding until we have more information and direction. The noise study results would go to the Parks and Recreation Commission for their discussion, and we would also study the impact of the frequency, the sound frequency of the sport as well. So it was a lot more nuanced than just going with the staff recommended action. Yes.
So would you be amicable to add a condition that if the sound study turns out it is effective to reduce the level to the tennis court level, then we would budget the amount, it will come to the council with some amended budget for the barrier, right?
Yes, so there's two changes.
That's assumed in your...
Yeah, so 10 to, it's that, yeah, let's just find out if it's going to work. So, but also I have made a modification there that the 10 is going to 15 since he's got a bid for 13, over 13.
15.
Okay,
Yeah,
and you accept
sorry,
that?
yeah.
Okay. Yes, of course, if it's going to work, then you can move ahead and do that. But there's also, it looks like there's growing options for sound attenuation. So it could be that there are other things out there that are even better than the ones that we've seen some images of.
Can we call the question so we can vote to vote?
Okay. So we're voting on the substitute motion first and not the main motion. Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Yes, and I just want to clarify, we're voting on Councilmember Mohan's substitute motion, which Councilmember Fruin seconded, to approve the pickleball attenuation capital improvement project as it appears in the budget presently.
Correct.
Okay. Councilmember Fruin?
Aye.
Councilmember Mohan?
Aye.
Councilmember Wong?
No.
Vice Mayor Chow?
No.
Mayor Moore?
No.
Motion fails with Fruin and Mohan voting yes.
Okay, now maybe you vote on the main motion?
So I just want to clarify, so Councilmember Mohan's motion also included stopping the pilot, right? Which you
Don't
have clarified.
believe that was part of the motion.
Stopping the pilot?
Your motion would include approve the barrier, but also stop the pilot.
If the barrier is
Oh, no,
successful.
No, implement the pilot, sorry. I mean, implement the pilot until we have, okay. So I just want to clarify that
Because we
was
have a
also
date for the
of the
implementation.
motion.
We have a date for the implementation, which is July 7th.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, we're voting on the main
Okay.
motion?
Okay. Councilmember Fruin?
No.
Councilmember Mohan?
No.
Councilmember Wong?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chow?
Aye.
Mayor Moore?
Aye.
Motion carries with Fruin and Mohan voting no.
Okay, all right, now we move on to the rest of the budget consideration. So we could bifurcate this as well. So we had 3 items for approval. Recommended action is to approve items 1, 2, and 3. So we've made a slight alteration through our vote. We just took to the, I believe, item 2. Is that correct? Okay. So we have a slight modification there. And then will that also modify 3? The appropriation limit? No, that one stays the same. Okay. And then there might be some modifications to the, for item 1. So I see Vice Mayor, you have your hand raised?
I think I would also like to make a motion about revising the community grant program allocation. Okay.
For purposes of deliberation, did you want to make a motion?
Okay.
To approve the 3 recommended actions with the modifications that you're going to suggest now?
Oh, okay. What you mean so the motion is, how are you going to bifurcate those? I think maybe let's talk about community program, vote on that first.
Okay.
And then talk about how to modify them.
So that would be item 1. So, okay, so we're going to vote on modifying item 1 and then...
Oh, that's item 1. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah, maybe that's cleaner. Okay. So let me share my screen. So I looked at the community grant funding policy. And then I feel some of the recommendation from the Parks and Rec does not really comply with our policy. Our policy says eligibility is it should benefit the Cupertino community, be awarded only once per project, and for specific needs, not ongoing needs. And then for the evaluation criteria, the program should be available to the entire Cupertino community, and it should be a community need for the there should be a community need, and also the program there should be a uniqueness of the program and event. So, and then among the list that's suggested, maybe let me share another. Sorry. I need to find my tab. Okay, so I think actually three of the programs I don't think they meet the criteria. So one of them is the I think one of them is the Cupertino FUHS Foundation grant, because it's a grant for the teachers, $1,000 per teacher in a particular classroom. This kind of program is not open to all the community to attend. It only benefits a specific classroom in a specific school. That really is not what the community grant is for, is meant. And then the other one is the Rotary Club. As we learned last time, the proposal is for Rotary to provide volunteers for what is that program? The existing city program that's already going on in McClellan Ranch. So they are just volunteering to an existing city program, which means it's not unique, and it doesn't really, I think, serve the purpose the community grant is for. It's meant to create a unique program that benefits the entire community. And so I think I would like to propose to not fund, I found the tab now. So here, I'd like to propose to drop the funding for Fremont Union School Foundation because it doesn't meet the program needs. And then the Cupertino Rotary Club one, that $3,000. And because it doesn't really fund a specific program. The third one I was considering is the West Valley Community Service. It's funding the Gift of Hope program. And I looked at the history of community funding. We have been funding that program since 2019 every year. Started from 20,000 to 10,000 and then 5,000. And then now it's requesting the same program for 5,000. That also is against the policy where it says we are supposed to be awarded only once per project, and we've awarded that many times. But I do think that's a really good project, but I think the intent of the grant is not for a program to continuously rely on city funding, but to help people to start a program and then create their own sustainable donation source. So eventually we would win the program from city funding. So we should be funding them less and less every year. So I'm not sure. I'm considering I want to but then 5,000 is less than what we had funded before. So I would like to hear what my council members think about it. What I would propose to fund is Cupertino Host Lions. The program they are proposing is fish shutdown. This is an annual program where they go to a pond in the Lehigh Cement for special needs children. A lot of Boy Scouts volunteer. So I think this is a worthwhile program. Although it's ongoing, but then I think we haven't funded it before. It's a worthwhile program to consider. And another is the Wreath Across American program by the American Legion Post. They have been hosting that every year for Cupertino, but we have never funded them. So this is providing wreaths to the veterans who are resting in our cemetery. I saw that's a worthwhile program. It benefits the entire community, so we can visit those veterans in December. So that's what I'm thinking. Maybe we can split that funding for these two programs. I would like to hear what other people think about it.
Well, thank you, Vice Mayor, for looking into the policy, and we are on the subcommittee looking at the grant and festival fee waiver policy. The Rotary already has $22,000 in festival fee waivers from the city baked into this budget, and we did already allocate $3 million to the Rotary Housing Fund. That is quite a considerable amount of contribution from the city. When I look at FUHSD, the $8,500 that they're looking for, I agree with your assessment about that. And then I'm also in the back of my mind thinking about their portion of over $500,000 for SROs. And then with regards to West Valley Community Services, that's a tough one. However, we do provide a lot of funding through through CDD, I believe. A few $100,000 comes from Cupertino. So I'm not really sure where you would allocate, or would you just take some of this money back and then allocate some to the Lions program? And there was a second one that you were interested in.
The Wreath Across America.
Wreaths, okay. And so it's $16,500 that you would have freed up. Did you have some idea for these two organizations, what you would be giving them?
I think 20,000 for Wreath Across America is a lot, so I would not fully fund that.
I think because the 32.5 it's such a small amount that I think keeping things in the, I don't know, 1,000 to 5,000 range will help get things started.
I think like 5,000 for Wreath Across America, maybe 2,000 or 2,500 for like fish-a-thon.
Okay.
So it's like half of what they are asking for.
Okay. Could you share your screen so that if there's any other opinions about the reallocation?
So I'm not sure about the West Valley. It's a really good program. So but we've been funding every year, so it's really not following our policy. That's the main thing. So I don't know about that. But I think just between the Fremont Union and the Rotary Club, we would have enough funding for 8,000 for the two new programs. So this will be 5,000. Oh. $2,500. I don't know how to make that different color, so these two are what I added.
Okay. So would you make this as your motion?
So that would be my motion. So that does not include the West Valley Community Service. So just
Okay, just those.
so that funding stays just
there. Okay.
I have two crossed out here, 8,500 and 3,000.
Okay.
So that's my motion.
Okay, so you're freeing up 11,500 and then redistributing, if I have that correct, and redistributing 7,500.
Did you take out the 5,000 for West Valley?
Yeah, we were
No,
at 16,500.
16,500.
I didn't take that
Yeah,
out.
she's not removing it. Okay. So that's your motion. I'll second that. I can't see Councilmember Fruin to know if his hand's raised, if anyone
Oh,
has
let
him.
me stop share. Yeah.
his hand is
Councilmember
raised.
Fruin's up.
Councilmember Fruin.
Yeah, I'd just note that, this has gone through an entire commission that we've appointed, and they've considered all of this. All of the advocates for their individual clauses have come and spoken both to us and to them in the past, and I think that we do them all a disservice with last-minute adjustments like this. I'm frankly shocked that there was any discussion of removing the line item for West Valley Community Services. I don't see why we would be this conservative in our view of what the policy is when that cause is as worthy and necessary as it is under the current budgetary restraints that everybody has at present, and considering that the community that particular line item serves. I will not be supporting this motion.
Well, just to clarify, West Valley Community Services was not defunded. Okay, Councilmember Mohan.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that these decisions and these allocations were made by a commission. They did their due diligence. They spent hours, I'm assuming, to come up with these recommendations. And for us to be sort of willy-nilly going with some pet projects or not going with some other project seems highly irresponsible. I would not be supporting any changes to the allocations that were presented in the budget.
Councilmember Wong, would you like to weigh in on this?
I'm just going to call a question, so I'm okay with it.
You're okay with?
I'm okay with your proposed motion, you and the vice mayors.
Okay.
Can I share something?
And just to be clear, we didn't cut the West Valley budget, so just for
Yeah.
Councilmember Fruin to know that the $5,000 is still there.
So the West Valley.
As a point of information, I noted that it was still there. I objected to the fact that anyone would even suggest removing it.
Got it.
Thank you.
So-
Through the chair, thanks.
Okay, I'd like to share. This is the how much we have funded the Gift of Hope program every year. So we've been funding it for $10,000. I think $20,000 before 2023. So we have been funding it every year, and as I mentioned in the policy, be awarded only once per project. So I don't know how the Parks and Rec program commission missed the specific requirement that's in the policy, but we have in the past was surprised by Parks and Rec Commission's suggestion in the past, and then the final decision is by the City Council, and the City Council has in the past made adjustments to the community grant. And this is how the public policy is. The final decision maker is the City Council. So I do encourage the Parks and Rec Commission to read the policy requirement more clearly, and but we have a subcommittee that we will try to clarify that for the future, so that Parks and Rec Commission is more clear on the intent of the community grant. Thank you.
Councilmember Mohan?
No, I just wanted to say, if you thought that the Parks and Rec Commission were not following the rules, or if they were making decisions that were not consistent with the policy, then this is not the time for us to be saying, oh, everything you did was wrong, and now we're just going to make our own decisions about who we are going to fund, and all the effort you put into it is, we're just not going to take it too seriously. And that's the message we are sending out to this commission and any other commission that we take contrary positions to after they having gone through the process and presumably the due diligence that is required to fund these various nonprofits.
Councilmember Wong?
Before I say call a question, I think for many of us who served in commissions, we all know that the final authority is the city council. And while we all put a lot of work in our commissions and we've all made a lot of recommendations in the past, it ultimately is a recommendation to the city council. And so I take that as advisement, but I do take everybody's work pretty seriously. Please call the question.
Okay, thank you. And I do want to point out that Vice Mayor and I, years ago, we were on a grant subcommittee, and we helped rewrite the policy that they were supposed to be working off of. So it isn't a matter of saying that they didn't do it right, but we might need to specify what we're looking for a little more clearly, so that we don't have people repeatedly going to the council for the same project year after year after year, expecting that they're going to get that funding. And so we're thinking in terms of how to wean organizations off, and that they understand that they need to get do their own fundraising and don't keep going to the city council. We want to start and launch all these programs rather than just having a singular track of organizations coming here. And I think overall that the city will be better off rather than just nourishing a small select few year after year. Okay, so I see Councilmember Wong. Okay, and then Councilmember Mohan.
I just wanted to call the question.
Okay. Am I going now?
At this point, you really should take a vote on whether it's time to end debate.
Okay. So I'm going to call the question.
Yeah.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you conduct the roll call vote on calling the question? Correct? Yes.
Councilmember Fruin?
No.
Councilmember Mohan?
No.
Councilmember Wong?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chow?
This is to call the question,
This is
right?
to end debate, yes.
To end debate. So the no vote means they want to continue debate.
No, it's okay.
So
keep going. Keep
yes.
Going. Okay.
Mayor Moore?
Aye.
Motion carries with Fruin and Mohan voting no.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the roll call vote on the motion?
Councilmember Fruin?
No, although point of order, I think the motion to call the question requires a supermajority vote.
And not when the mayor is requesting that?
It does.
Councilmember Fruin is correct.
It does. It's ending debate, so it does require
2/3 vote.
2/3
Was
vote.
that modified in the council procedures?
No.
This is
This is
Rosenberg's.
it's from Rosenberg's.
Okay, so the procedures were probably in error in all that time when...
No, that was when the mayor is calling the question, which is a different situation.
I did.
Oh, you called the question?
Yeah.
Councilmember Fruin, the mayor called the question.
Call the question. I can't call the question.
Then we didn't need to take a vote.
Very good point. Mayor, you get to decide when we vote.
You go.
It was Councilmember Wong who was calling the question, and there was continuing to be debate.
And then I called it. Okay,
So,
so
vote.
we're at the same place. We're voting.
Let's vote.
Pardon for the extra steps.
Okay. That was very confusing. Okay, so we are voting on the motion by Chow, moved seconded by Moore. Councilmember Fruin.
Maybe could you repeat the question just for clarity?
Yes, the motion that I have is Chow moved and Moore seconded to defund community funding for the Fremont Union High School Foundation and for Rotary, and reallocate $5,000 for Wreaths Across America and $2,500 to the Lions Club Fishathon. Okay.
Okay.
Councilmember Fruin.
No.
Councilmember Mohan.
No.
Councilmember Wong.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chow.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
Motion carries with Fruin and Mohan voting no.
Okay, so the remaining two items we have would be item 2, to adopt resolution number 26-076. However, it would be with the modifications that were just described in the two prior.
Through the mayor, point of order, we believe we need to extend time.
We do.
Okay, I move that we extend time to complete item 6. Is that good enough?
Second.
Second, okay.
I think Councilmember Fruin had it.
Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Councilmember Fruin.
Aye.
Councilmember Mohan.
Aye.
Councilmember Wong.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chow.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, so I'm going to move items 2 and 3. Item 2, to adopt resolution number 26-076 with the modifications from our previous motions on this item, and item 3 as it is written. Okay, do I have a second?
Can I just ask for a clarification? So for number 2, it's the budget as presented by the staff, except for the pickleball item?
I believe that would be the only modification that would happen to the CIP.
For clarification, it would be to decrease the CIP project from 150,000 down to 15,000.
Correct. Okay, clear? Okay. Councilmember Wong?
Oh, I'm out. Let me take myself off cue. So.
Okay. I don't see a hand raised. Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct the roll call vote?
Did we make the motion yet?
I moved. I do have a seconder.
If not, I'll second.
Thank you. It's getting late. Okay, Councilmember Fruin?
Yes, as a quick point, I was curious as to whether anyone would entertain the additional item that I submitted earlier today.
I looked at it, and I think it needs to come back as a study session. I think it's an interesting idea, but there's also there's another side to it, that some of the individuals who might be wanting a loan could be living in a $5 million house in the hillside, and so we would need to talk about how it would be construed, and we also weighing that against the fact that we have all of these expiring BMR units across the city. Do we want to be, how would we be funding things? So I think a study session would be great, and it looks like you had a first and a seconder on that, and the TBD item is coming at the next meeting?
July 7th.
July 7th. So
Can we add that to the TBD?
Could this please be added to the TBD? Because I think there's a lot of stuff written in there, so I can't just on the fly approve it without understanding what it's going to do. But I think it's very valid, and we have some real challenges in the very high fire severity zone, and some of these laws don't seem to kind of work together greatly.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Sorry. It seems like I didn't see that. So where is it?
Oh, it was written into the letters. It was submitted as
So written communications.
written communications. JR sent it in.
Okay.
It's well written. It's lengthy. I think we'll need to hash it out at a meeting.
I have a printed copy.
Okay, thank you. And it also doesn't really fit into items 2 and 3. that cleanly.
So for the benefit of the public, can we show this on the screen so those watching know exactly what we are talking about?
This kind of is not, it's not part of the budget. It's it's referring to the Q1 budget update, talking about zero and low interest loans. It's going off topic. So right now we're on to the CIP budget and then the appropriations limit. So this is like a work program item.
Was this submitted as a desk item?
Written communications.
Okay.
So, Mayor, wanted to clarify, I'll add it to the TBD that council will consider on July 7th. We may want to consider if this is a timely conversation, then adding it to work program item might actually take it to next July. So maybe I think starting with a study session or a TBD, if this needs to happen sooner, would be my recommendation.
It's given the wildfire, through the mayor, given the wildfire implications, we just want to get to it earlier than later.
Correct. And then you've got the issue of the non-functional turf, and there's another bill there that it all needs to be worked on. The home hardening is going to be a challenge as well. Okay. So we're fine with this?
Adding to
approach?
TBD.
Okay. We're good with that approach. And Vice Mayor, your hand's raised?
Oh.
Okay. Then we're going to go for a vote unless we see Councilmember Fruin. Oh, he's fine? Okay.
Yeah,
Yes?
just wanted to quickly clarify that this motion is simply the rest of the budget, but with the appropriate modifications to incorporate the actions that have already been taken. Is that a good way of describing it?
An abbreviated way of describing what the mayor had walked through before we got into the other discussion. That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Councilmember Fruin.
Aye.
Councilmember Mohan.
Aye.
Councilmember Wong.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chow.
Aye.
Mayor Moore.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right. And with that,
Oh, did we do 3 as well?
pardon?
Item number 3 was part of
We
this?
already did? Okay. So we are adjourned. Thank you.